We'll now have the swearing in of new members. Ann Catherine Roman and Scott Dover. Please. Over there.
Over there.
Support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Stallings Planning Board and Board of Adjustment. So help me God. This is the 17th day of
Scott Dover, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the
Speaking for all the members of the Planning Board and Board of Adjustments, welcome to.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 2 is the election of chair and vice chair for the Planning Board, Board of Adjustments.
So every January, we hold an election for chair and vice chair for Planning Board and Board of Adjustments. Since we were unable to reach quorum last month, this is just a leftover from our rules of procedure. So if you would like to nominate yourself for chair and vice chair, feel free to have open discussion on that and vote.
Have any nominations? Chairman? For vice chair?
Vice chair.
Well, how about chair?
Nominate Jackie.
It feels wrong to nominate someone who's not here.
That's when it's the best, though, isn't it?
Chair. I'll do chair.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yep. Okay, the next, read it.
I'll make the motion. I'll do that, make that motion. Take your time.
Now on to the agenda.
Make a motion to take out items 10 through 13 on the agenda and move those to the next board meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we have the approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for October 21st, 2025.
I second. Agenda.
Okay, I make the motion to take items 10 and 13 and move them to the next board meeting. All in favor? Have a second? All in favor? Okay, got it.
Now the approval of the minutes from October 21st, 2025.
Move we approve the minutes of October 21st, 2025.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Um, We have the brief of the planning board BOA training.
Hey, congratulations, Chair and Vice Chair. Just for everybody who's not aware, I'm Max Shong, I'm the planning director for the town of Stallings. And I'm going to do a very brief training. We have so many items that we have to make sure we pull up the right thing. Okay. Just because we have 2 new members. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go through a few slides, but some important slides to remember. This is all online. We have a link to this on the planning board agenda. And if anybody wants the training, just send me an email. I can also forward it to you. But the planning board is required by state statute, and they make formal land use decisions based on all of our adopted plans. The planning board also has 30 days to make a recommendation for items. So for example, if you weren't able to hold quorum for 1 month and then we'd hear the next item, if you weren't able to meet again, the item would go to council. So the role of the planning board is to recommend items based on our adopted plans, so the comprehensive land use plan, small area plan. We also do public engagements. As you can see, we have a lot of citizens here as well. And you also recommend and develop policies and ordinances. So we might bring items like streetscape and make a recommendation to bring a text amendment to you. So we would say, hey, what do you guys think about these items? And you say, we recommend that you draft a text amendment to address these, and then it would go to council afterwards. Or it would come to you and then council. You also hear text amendments and zoning amendments, so conditional zonings and rezonings. Those are legislative in function. You also serve as a board of adjustments here for Stallings. Sometimes they're separate, but those are quasi-judicial hearings. You're not hearing any of those items tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt. I'm just going to go through this pretty fast because we have a large audience. Let's see. The chair presides the meeting, and then the vice chair presides if the chair is not available. The chair only votes if he has to break a tie, or if there's 4 members present, he gets to vote, or you get to vote. Excuse me. Let's see. I'm going to skip to page 18. So we hear cases like general rezonings. That's a change from one zoning category to another. We're not hearing any general zoning categories tonight. That is legislative in nature. We're not hearing any special use permits tonight. But I did want to go over, we do have to make a zoning statement of consistencies. So after every text amendment or rezonings, you'll see a page at the end of the presentation that states that you have to make a statement of consistency on our adopted plans, like the comprehensive land use plan, on whether or not you think it's consistent or inconsistent, reasonable or unreasonable. And it can be any combination of those. Okay. Some of the documents that guide decision-making are the comprehensive land use plan's future land use. The text and the zoning implement the laws. So the future land use is the guide for the future of the town. Other relevant plans are small area plans, parks and rec, green master plans, and other plans. We are hearing 3 conditional zonings tonight, so I wanted to go over those. Those are rezonings that include a site plan and a set of conditions. Those are legislative in nature still, so you can talk freely with the applicant here today, ask questions. You can request, those have conditions as well. So you get to see the site plan, and then you can also talk about conditions that are placed in the property, but they have to be reasonable and proportionate to the impact of development. So for example, maybe you want to require additional trees along a buffer, but you wouldn't want to make all buildings pink. So just kind of think about reasonable conditions. So just make sure if you have a conflict of interest, so like you know the developer, you're related to the developer, you have any financial interest, you want to recuse yourself as well. And I think it was really fast, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of some of the processes, and also I think it might help the public just to kind of understand what planning board's role is. Do you have any questions for me for the training? Okay, just want to make sure I did that before we heard any additional items.
If we could just have make sure everybody speaks into the microphone when you're making a motion or asking any questions, so they can hear us outside as well. Thank you.
Testing.
Yeah, okay.
Is that slide deck you just went through, is that available for public review or?
It is. So it's included in a link in the agenda packet. The links they don't last forever, but I'm not sure how long they last. It'll be for a while, a few months. But if the link's unavailable, feel free to email me, my email's on the website. I can send you the training. We also submitted modules just for planning board as well. So you guys can also do additional training for your roles.
Hopefully it'd be helpful in recruiting a few more members.
Yeah, you can definitely use it, send it out.
Okay.
So next we have conditional zoning CZ 25.08.01, Stevens Village.
All right, so thank you. This is conditional rezoning application CZ 250801, Stevens Village. This is the staff report for the planning board. So Stevens Village LLC submitted a conditional rezoning request to change their mixed-use zoning on the site to conditional zoning mixed use. And the reason it's required to be a conditional zoning is because it consists of 118 townhomes and up to 15,000 square feet of commercial at the intersection of Stevens Mill Road and Ottewald Road. We did have 2 neighborhood meetings on this subject, one in October, another in December. Tonight's planning board. And this is going to be going to town council on March 9th for public hearing. And we'll be sending mail notices out shortly for that. The aerial and street view, as you know, it's heavily wooded on the site, and there's consists of some homes. Here's the intersection. So if you look behind the aerial view, or excuse me, the street view, you'll see the substation and the Hemby Bridge Church.
Right.
Here's the site plan. I know it's kind of hard to see, but the developer's presentation is going to go very in-depth on the site plan. I'm going to go more in-depth on the adopted plans and the consistency, but I do want to let you know that these 118 townhomes at the rear of the property adjacent to the Shanamar neighborhood. And then at the intersection, there's on the site plan, it's showing a gas station and a drive-through restaurant that has less square footage than 15,000. I think it's showing around 8,500 square feet. But if those uses did fall through, the applicant has said up to 15,000 on their conditions. And then this grayed out area is a allowed use for the grocery store tenant. So that's allowed in the mixed-use 2 zoning. If this conditional zoning was approved, they would likely have to submit a site plan for the entire area and override the current approved concept plan for the grocery store tenant. Just the additional information for the project summary, the entire site's zone mixed-use 2 currently. As you can see, it's kind of interesting shape. It's mostly vacant, but it's 17.97 acres in total. The residential area is going to be 12.35 acres where the townhomes are going. And the Area B commercial is 5.62 acres in size. The TIA is included from the previous Stevens Village commercial development, and I'll let the developer kind of touch in on the traffic as well in their presentation. There's a lot of history on the site, and if it's a little bit confusing, feel free to ask, but there's multiple different applications and by right approvals on the site. So back in the day, I guess 2020 sounds like back in the day, but they applied for a development agreement, which is a long process with the negotiation between planning board, town council, staff, and the applicant. They applied for a development agreement at the intersection for a gas station and a drive-through restaurant. That application does not expire, so they could move forward with that at any time if this conditional zoning did not override it. Now, there's also an approved site plan in the yellow. I think a lot of people have already seen that. That has the grocery store tenant and the commercial space. And then there's this rezoning that's going to override both well, a portion of the approved site plan. So there's a lot of different components based on this, but I think that the application of the conditional zoning cleans up the development process and just makes it one by right development with mixed use and a conditional zoning instead of multiple processes. So if there's any questions on history, just let me know. So the future land use for this area is walkable activity center. Walkable activity center promotes a mixture of uses that are walkable to each other, including commercial, residential, high-density residential, and they're all walkable in a mixed-use pattern. It also provides for a density of like 1 to 5 stories for, sorry, not density, height for townhomes as well. I've included a kind of very detailed explanation of walkable activity center, but staff does see that this is consistent with our walkable activity center future land use. It's also, we believe that it's consistent with the Idlewild Road Small Area Plan. The Idlewild Road Small Area Plan shows this area for commercial up front and multifamily in the rear. But, you know, we believe that we're not looking parcel by parcel. Usually we're looking at the general area. There are townhomes incorporated in the small area plan. And we believe that the single-family homes now border an approved site plan for commercial. But the townhomes create a buffer for a step down of uses from the Shanamara residence. So it'd be a single-family home detached from Shanamara, and with this conditional zoning, then it'd be a larger buffer, which the applicant is going to go into depth on the buffer with townhomes, then the commercial. Right now, all of it's zoned commercial, and they could build commercial by right with only a 40-foot buffer. This conditional zoning allows the applicant to expand on the, we can require a condition to expand on the buffer, which they have included with the site plan. The Stevens Village has a traffic impact analysis. They've included a TIA that was approved with the original site plan for the commercial along Idlewild Road and Stevens Mill Road, which included turn lanes, extended storage, traffic signal upgrades. The removal of certain commercial components from the approved site plan has resulted in an overall reduction of projected trips compared to the original TIA. So all original TIA improvements are still to be constructed despite the reduced trip generation. I did want to let you know that if you have any traffic-related questions, I would rely on the applicant to answer that. I'm here for the zoning and to talk about our adoptive plans. So staff does recommend approving this conditional zoning to rezone it to conditional zoning mixed use 2. It creates a step-down transition between single-family residential and the commercial uses. We believe that it's also consistent with walkable activity center future land use and is consistent with our Idlewild small area plan. Now, the applicant's also here, but do you have any questions for me or for staff before the applicant presents?
Anyone?
Any other questions? No?
Or you can ask me after the applicant presents. I think I have a sign-in. Forgot to give you a sign-in sheet. So after the applicant presents, you'll want to call in some of the people to talk. I'll hand this to you right now. I apologize, forgot to give it to you. Let's see. There it is. All right, so I'm going to call the applicant up here to present, and if you have any questions for me, let me know. This is for you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. My name is Aaron Hauk. I'm here on behalf of Stevens Village LLC, the applicant for case number CZ 250801. With me tonight from the applicant are Terry Williams and Pete Paul, Nick Bouchon and Michael Wickline from Design Resource Group, who worked on this plan, and John Carmichael, who works with me at Robinson Bradshaw. Max already went over the calendar of events for this case, but here they are again. We had the official required neighborhood meeting on October 7th. We had some comments and made some adjustments to the plan, so I had a second neighborhood meeting in December where we shared those adjustments to the plan and got more feedback. We're here at the planning board tonight, and the town council hearing is scheduled for Monday, March 9th. Here's the site outlined in green. You can see it's on the north corner of the intersection of Idlewild Road and Stevens Mill Road. You can see 485 kind of in the top left corner there of the map, and the Shinamera residential neighborhood is to the north of the site. Has this kind of strange shape that we'll get into a little bit. Here's the zoning map for the area. The site here is outlined in red. As Max said, the site is zoned entirely MU2, as are the other parcels along Idlewild Road and on Stevens Mill Road. To the north of the site are some parcels that are zoned single-family residential. That's the Shinamera neighborhood. Again, MU2, the zoning district that's indicated by the green on this map, it stands for Mixed Use 2. It's a mixed-use zoning district that allows a variety of commercial uses by right. Subject to the Stallings Development Ordinance's design requirements with concern to setbacks and buffers and that sort of thing, parcels that are zoned MU2 can be used for those commercial uses by right. In the area, as Max said, there is also a concept plan for a grocery store anchored commercial center that has already been approved. That site is shown in yellow on this map. It's along Stevens Mill Road. And so the entirety of that area, are you seeing my cursor as well? Is commercial. So there's commercial, here, all of that's commercial. And that's an approved commercial center right now. The rezoning, the conditional zoning site outlined in red, as you can see, kind of wraps around that approved concept plan site and even overlaps in areas. So what that means is if town council were to approve this rezoning request for this conditional zoning, the conditional zoning plan would supersede this approved plan in these areas. Here is a map of that, or here is that approved concept plan for that grocery store anchored center. The map is a little rotated here. Stevens Mill is kind of running horizontally along the bottom of this site. Here's Idlewild Road. And again, you can see the commercial goes to the back of the site, and the commercial extends sort of to this boundary of the site. And here's Shinamera, just to orient you on this map. But that's the approved concept plan. The rezoning request is to rezone the site from MU2 to CZ MU2, the conditional zoning mixed use 2. The site would be broken into two development areas. Development area A would be the residential component of the development. It would contain a maximum of 118 attached house dwelling units or townhomes. Development area B would be the non-residential or commercial component of the site and would have a maximum of 15,000 square feet of non-residential uses and a minimum of 3,000 square feet of commercial uses and a maximum of 2 buildings. Here's the site plan for the conditional rezoning request with those 2 development areas called out. Development area A, the residential component, is in red on this map. Development area B is the commercial component in blue. And again, this map is twisted a little bit. Stevens Mill Road is here on the bottom, and Idlewild Road is here. I'm going to go into a little more detail on each of the development areas. For development area A, the residential component, again, it's a maximum of 118 townhomes. It would be restricted to residential uses. Those townhome buildings would have a maximum building height of 45 feet for the townhomes that are internal to the site. For the townhome buildings along the boundary with the Shinamera community, the maximum building height would be 35 feet. So there'd be a 10-foot reduction in the maximum building height as you move to the townhome buildings adjacent to Shinamera. For development area B, there could be a maximum of 1 convenience store with gas pumps. If that convenience store with gas pumps were there could be a maximum of 1 restaurant with drive-through facilities. If that convenience store with gas pumps is not there could be a maximum of 2 restaurants with drive-through windows. This is a list of uses that would be prohibited on development area B. I won't read them all out to you, but you can see some are, ABC store, bars, batting cages, tattoo, parlor, sale of tobacco, vape, CPD as principal use. These are uses that are otherwise allowed by right in the MU2 zoning district, but they would be prohibited as a part, one of the conditions as a part of this conditional zoning request. Here is the site plan, colored and rendering of the site plan. My next slide is a little bit larger, so maybe easier to see. Again, development area A is over here. These are the townhome buildings. You'll see that they're in two different colors, this bright yellow color and this orange tangerine color. The buildings with the units in yellow here along the boundary with Shanamara, those are the buildings that would have the maximum building height of 35 feet. These townhome buildings more central to the site, internal to the site, would have a maximum building height of 45 feet. Development area B is down here near the intersection of Idlewild and Stevens Mill Road. The site would have access in several places. There's a signalized intersection along Stevens Mill Road. There's a right-in, right-out farther down Stevens Mill Road, closer to the intersection with Idlewild. You could also access the site at a right-in, right-in off of Idlewild Road here, going into development area B. Additionally, the Stinson Farms development up closer to 485 on Idlewild Road that's being built, there would also be a road connecting the site to the Stinson Farms development here. So it would be possible for someone in this development to, get to the Stinson Farm development without getting onto Idlewild. In the neighborhood meetings, we got a lot of comments and feedback that were very helpful. I think it's fair to characterize the comments as falling principally into two categories. One category was concern about the boundary conditions of this site and how this site works with the existing Shanamara community. And so we'll talk a little bit about how the plan addresses that and how we've made adjustments to that plan. The other thing is we've had a lot of comments about traffic impacts. So to talk about the site boundary with Shanamara, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Nick Bouchon.
Hey, good evening. My name is Nick Bouchon. I'm with Design Resource Group, and I've been currently assisting the rezoning team, conditional zoning team, with the plan preparation and everything you see with the slides as well. Just following up on what Max started off and then Aaron following up with presentation. Just want to first say the overall approach from initial concept plan to the conditional zoning plan that you see now was realigning that mutual edge with Shanamara. Really wanted to locate a residential use and shift the commercial over further away from that mutual edge internal to the site. And as part of that, here's a typical cross-section. Just want to give you an idea of spacing and what we're proposing. Plan right side is just typical existing residence on the Shanamara side. And then this thicker line right here is the boundary, site boundary line. And then working left, you have a 50-foot buffer, and that is a 50-foot wide landscape buffer yard with a 7-foot tall opaque vinyl fence and landscape to meet a type A planting standards where existing coverage is not preserved. And then another item to mention right here is a 90-foot setback. So that is a minimum 90-foot setback. And as you look at the plan, there are some areas that push up right to that 90-foot setback and other areas that are pulled back further away. But that 90-foot setback would maintain across that mutual edge as well. And then included within that buffer is also a 7-foot vinyl opaque fence. And anywhere where there's not existing trees preserved along this buffer, there would be the plantings per the type A that I mentioned. Another item that we also tried to commit to is locating all the required tree save along this edge as much as possible, trying to prioritize that along this mutual edge as well. As you can see with the next section and the overall aerial photography, there's a good amount of trees within that edge. So that was a big part of the initial plan concept and trying to carry that through as much as possible. And then one other item, just all the alley rear load townhomes, they're all front loaded to the street. The porches with direct unit connectivity sidewalks, and then the garages would be on the rear with a 20-foot tandem surface driving parking area and then also a 20-foot alley. So all the garages would be on the back side. The front side facing the street would have promote your pedestrian connectivity, walkability, all your unit porches connecting right to the street where there'd be parallel parking, planter strips, and sidewalks. Here is a section, and this is just replicating what was in plan view going up vertical that you were looking at, same scale. As mentioned, right side, typical house, and then working across this line right here is the boundary. And then working across right here is your 90-foot overall setback. And then here would be the 50-foot minimum buffer area. And then, as mentioned, trying to prioritize the trees within that area. Our client team did go out and they measured trees. They shot with the laser too. And some of these trees, they're really big and really wanted to get that to scale to show what some of these do look. And I will say it's not existing coverage across the entire area, but the majority and anywhere, especially on the northern side, that would be replaced with new plantings where there's existing coverage. Yep.
And the fence is located just inside the tree line, correct?
It is, right
Little
here.
black mark there, okay.
Yep. And we thought that'd be better. That's up for discussion, but keeping it out of the existing tree coverage, also pushing it back also just makes an expansion of the backyard with the trees, a continuation from the existing side across here. So there was intent to locate it on that backside.
Okay.
Then also screen from any kind of alley traffic as well. Not traffic, but circulation. So one item did want to point out as well is the 20-foot alley and then the 20-foot tandem surface parking. That's between the alley edge and the garage. And then here's the proposed townhomes. As Aaron mentioned, that has a 35-foot max per ordinance requirements, how interpretation for the height. And that was a commitment we heard from the residents from the first meeting, community meeting. We were proposing 45 throughout, and they asked if there was potential to reduce. So we did along that edge where you show in yellow on the site plan. And that was trying to get in line comparable to the existing homes. These do get up to peak per level laser shooting up to 47 feet to give you an idea. So for the existing homes. Yep.
And then the parking situation, are those all one-car garages?
It could be one or two. It depends on architecture. As drawn, they would set up for two. And that'd be internal garages and then your tandem surface park in front of that. So it really comes down to architecture. I would imagine they'd be two-car, but I couldn't tell you if there's going to be a variety of mix between
Okay.
one and two garages. There would be additional on-street parking along the front sides, either on one side or two sides, trying to get as much parallel parking spots as possible, visitor parking mixed in, and as well mixed in is some head-in spaces within the alleys as well. So visitor parking, know that's important, try to get as much in addition.
In the buffer area you're speaking about, the existing tree coverage would try to be stayed, and you're saying the areas where it cannot be or the areas that don't have existing coverage would become type A, but everything else would stay as is.
Correct. Yep. And then this slide right here, this is just going to give a comparison from initial concept plan. As Max mentioned, multiple years back, the initial submittal per ordinance could go down to a 30-foot type B landscape buffer. And then that had the ability to drop down by 30% to 21 feet with a 5-foot fence. So to give you in comparison from initial concept submittal, what could occur into where we are now. And then the initial approved by right concept plan, there was some discussions during the Duncan conventional rezoning, and there were some commitments made at that time, even though that was not a conditional process. And that adjusted to a 70-foot minimum setback for the commercial buildings with a 30-foot minimum average width type B landscape buffer. And that also had the right to reduce to 21 feet with a 5-foot fence. And then the amended approved by right concept plan that has a 70-foot minimum setback, with 30-foot minimum type E landscape buffer, and a 7-foot fence. And then the current proposed plan, as I mentioned in detail, has the 90-foot minimum setback along that mutual edge, as well as 50-foot minimum buffer with the type A landscape for any areas that are removed or there are no existing tree coverage. Then we still have to meet the buffer requirements per ordinance as well. And then also the 7-foot fence. And then just highlighted right here on the bottom, the requested conditional rezoning plan, the 90-foot residential, 50-foot minimum, and the type A, and just gives you a comparison via chart.
Yeah, so in summary, kind of the adjustments and the features of the plan that address the concern about the boundary of Shanamara. The plan has been adjusted to reduce the maximum building height of those townhome buildings that are adjacent to the Shanamara community. One change from the approved concept plan is that those are residential buildings that are closest to Shanamara rather than commercial buildings. The buffer and the setback have both been increased, and there's enhanced landscaping compared to the approved plan. That's the status quo. With respect to traffic impacts,
Quick question.
oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So you're talking about reducing the overall height adjacent to Shanamara, but we still have residential neighbors to the north and to the east? Sorry, north and
No, that's
and
okay.
west.
So we're,
So that white area there, that's also residential? No, on
That-
the plan,
right here,
no, on the adjacent, the other side.
this right here,
Yes, and
this
below.
is vacant, I think, right?
That's
Or-
the stormwater detention pond for Stinson Farms.
Okay,
Yeah, so this is, Limerick runs and ends around,
All the way at the top.
all the way at the top, okay, yeah. Shanamara. Does, that,
yeah, I was talking about more so that piece of property south of your blue pond
oh,
there.
this here?
That's also residential property, correct?
Correct.
That is existing residential. It's zoned MU2, and it's owned by the Forbes brothers. And at some point, they will either likely develop their property as commercial, or we'll be able to acquire it in the future and do that. So, that's what's there today. But the highest and best use of that property in the future will likely be commercial.
Thank you.
Excuse me. So this is a map that shows the existing road conditions. Here's Stevens Mill Road and Idlewild Road. Basically, two-lane roads right now that we know that this intersection can back up. So there are a couple changes that are coming. So one is there's a series of transportation improvements that have been committed to as a part of the Stinson Farms development. Those are illustrated on this map, so you can see the widening of Idlewild Road from 2 lanes basically to 4 lanes all the way to Stevens Mill Road, along with the addition of some turn lanes at the intersection of Stevens Mill Road and Idlewild Road. So those are coming, they're not there yet, but we believe that those changes would alleviate some of the concerns and address additions to traffic from the development. In addition, as a part of the commercial development, there was a TIA that recommended some transportation improvements for the commercial center that's approved there, and contemplated a gas station and restaurant with drive-through facilities on this corner. Those recommendations included a signal here, addition of some more lanes, in addition to a turn lane into the center here and here. So this is what the transportation infrastructure would look like with this development complete compared to the current status quo. So, yeah, there's an acknowledgement that this development would add trips to the roads, but the addition of this infrastructure should allow the infrastructure to handle those additional trips.
Is this part of a NCDOT plan, or is this part of what you've talked to NCDOT about, or?
So there was a NCDOT approved TIA, and then more recently, a transportation technical memorandum that talked about the changes that this conditional rezoning would make to the already approved plan, where they also signed off on the estimates that trip generation from the conditional rezoning plan would be less than the trip generation from the previous plan that the TIA covered.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, with respect to transportation, traffic impacts, the transportation improvements from Stinson Farms and Stevens Village would work together, even with the reduction in commercial square footage from the approved plan and with the TIA studied to the proposed conditional rezoning plan. There's an expectation it would generate fewer trips. Nevertheless, the applicant would agree to install those transportation improvements that were a part of that other TIA. So again, this is another zoomed-in version of the site plan, and we're happy to take questions now or later if you like. Thank you.
Was there design input from NCDOT or just the review of the trip counts?
Michael Wickline with Design Resource Group. So I think to clarify one thing, just to make it completely clear, is that all of the improvements that are shown here that are not compared to existing, essentially, these are all privately funded improvements. It's not a state NCDOT plan. So what happens throughout the TIA process is essentially you're studying the before and the after, and you have to mitigate your impacts. So these recommendations per the couple of TIAs that were completed for each of the developments were analyzed. The improvements were suggested or recommended to the state and to the town based off of, you know, how they fix the intersections and mitigating the impact from these sites. NCDOT and the town review those recommendations, and if they review those recommendations and they agree with them, those become requirements essentially of the driveway permit or the conditional zonings. So I'm not sure, I know at least, I'm not sure where Stinson Farms is in the review process. I don't know if they have fully permitted plan sets or anything else, but I would assume they're under review by NCDOT to be put in place. But eventually, if they haven't been already, they will have to be a full plan set, all design, sent to NCDOT, reviewed, and once they're approved, those plans are approved, that's when the construction can begin.
Thank you.
Yep.
One other quick question. What type of street lighting array do you have set up for the subdivision? As far as when street line the master plan?
At scale lighting, and it would be within the planter strips internally.
Do you need it in the microphone? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We haven't put together a lighting plan yet, but of course, lighting would have to meet ordinance requirements. But I would envision along the internal network streets, the private streets, there would be, and these are all the areas that are lined in trees as I'm following through, and then coming down through here. And those would be typically 12 to 15 foot. Deluxe acorn, I know that means nothing to you, but that's a typical spec or something comparable. And then there would be taller lighting within the commercial area specifically, but of course would have to meet ordinance requirements as well.
The reason I'm asking, because in a lot of these neighborhoods here that were put together 20 years ago, the street lights were basically covered up by trees now. And just curious to see when you guys do the planting and the lighting, make sure you've got room to where when you plant a tree that's very small now, and 15 years from now, it's now covering the light entirely. Because a lot of our neighborhoods do have that issue right now, so.
It's a great point, and you got to maintain separation. That's something that we would be following through. If the site were to be approved via rezoning, we would go into full permitting, and that'd be multiple submittals
Correct.
and months. And we'd be
Understand.
working back and forth, making those separations and figuring out the right species where that wouldn't happen.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
And the street lighting on the back side, the garage sides, what, would that be adjacent to the buildings or adjacent to the fence?
More on the street side right here. There were discussions along that backside, and the intent would be to keep lighting as minimal as possible on that backside.
Thank you.
If that additional parcel does get commercially developed, which you mentioned is possible, would then there be a new TIA study and review to see, you know, these changes that are proposed right now to the streets that could be impacted if that becomes commercial?
You're talking about the Forbes parcel here along Idlewild Road. It would be a separate project. It's not included in this conditional rezoning or this already approved plan. So it would have to go through the town's requirements for a TIA for a new development.
Any other questions?
Questions? No? Good job.
Thank you.
Open the floor to public comment. First on the list is Nick Patatas.
Somebody's got 3 minutes.
Dietzes? Come to the microphone, please. You have 3 minutes.
State your name and address.
Oh, and please state your name and address.
Nick Petitsis, 2304 Carnarvon Lane, Matthews. And I'm going to just speak for a short while, and then I'm going to yield my time to Gene Lindsay. Questions first. This parcel that you referenced that's on Idlewild, okay, in between where you see, looks like a retention pond on the top, and then to the development, proposed development. Who owns that? Is that part of your corporation?
Just so we start off the right way, I'm happy to answer any questions from the chairman. If you want to direct the question to me.
Oh, do I direct questions to you? And then, okay, and then you direct them to him,
Can you
okay.
please inform him of who owns that piece of property and what its intended use is?
The Forbes brothers,
It's a nice circle, we'll go around, okay. So, okay, who owns that?
the Forbes brothers. Ricky Forbes and Jimmy Forbes.
Okay, are they affiliated with your company?
No,
They're not?
correct.
Okay. Do we have any idea what the plans are for that parcel?
No, the plan south of the blue square there?
Yeah, the section. Section, okay, that's in white, I guess, that's bordered by the proposed development on the bottom left, and then there's like a blue, looks like a retention pond. Okay, that's the parcel I'm talking about. So do we have any idea what the plans are for that?
Do we know who owns the piece of property planned north of the detention pond?
That's part, the detention pond and the property north of the detention pond are part of Stinson Farms.
Okay, but that's north of, okay, but I'm talking about in between. That's the section I'm talking about.
That's the Forbes Brothers plan on, just right below that.
Right.
detention pond.
Okay. Also, okay, when was the TIA that was done at the height of COVID, correct?
I don't happen to have the date in front of me. Do you happen to have the date of the approved TIA?
The approved TIA was from 2023 was the final approval date.
And when was
Well,
the
that's final
traffic
approval.
study
When was it?
conducted?
Okay,
It started in late 2021.
okay, late 2021, so that was during the height of COVID. So approval and actual conducting of the test is two totally different things. So if it was done during the height of COVID, we know that that was primarily when it was major lockdowns and traffic, we know, was at a minimal amount. Okay, so we agree on that? Okay. Next, the grocery store, the proposed site for a grocery store is there any commitment by any grocery store chain to that site at this time?
Is there a commitment that you have to the grocery store?
We're not going to disclose any of that information.
Well, we're not asking for a name. Is there a commitment? That's totally different from, is there a firm commitment, a signed commitment by a company, a reputable grocery store chain that plans on moving in there?
We're not going to disclose any information about the tenants.
Sorry, sir, but you're out of time.
Okay, pardon?
I'm sorry, sir, but you're out of time.
Oh, I'm out of time?
Yes, sir.
Get 3 minutes.
That was quick.
Yeah, it goes quite fast.
All right, thank you.
Phil Sylvester? Can you please state your name and
Yeah,
address,
sure.
please?
Phil Sylvester, 5218 Shanamara Drive. I'm one of the folks that's concerned about the traffic and the TIA behind it. One of the concerns is just looking at kind of what it was based on. Seems it was only based on Idlewild Road traffic, not Stevens Mill traffic. And it seems it assumed a 1% increase in traffic population, despite the fact that the last 3 years Stallings has grown closer to 7% in population. So my concern is around the infrastructure behind the plan. The other part is when the folks were talking about the plan, they mentioned planned road improvements. I didn't hear any commitments or anything that said that those road commitments were going to be in place before this traffic is added as a result of all this building. It sounds like it's part of some other plan from some other building project with not a direct commitment or dates or requirements that be in place. So they're saying that we need these road improvements in order for this project to be successful based on a very conservative TIA that was put in place, and yet no commitments to having that in place in order to proceed with this building project from what I've heard. And so I would look that if we were looking to rezone to add all of this commercial property, that we do it based on reasonable data, which is like growth projections we really have, on traffic that really exists, that we include the road that is most impacted in the plan, not an adjacent road to it, and that there be commitments to those improvements being part of it in order for the building to, zoning to be approved and for the project to be approved. As opposed to saying, we think that another project is going to handle these roads, they've suggested expanding it, but not having a commitment tied to this building project in order for it to go forward.
Thank you. Next is Joe Hargrove. Please state your name and address.
Yeah, sure. Joe Horvath, 719 Donegal Court. So I guess I'll kind of cut to the chase. No one wants this. Is anybody in this room? There's no one that wants this. And then these are not improvements. A stoplight in this weird spot next to Shanamara that is weirdly blocked out from this, it's right there. That's the pool that you can barely see the gray piece on. And so it's going to jack up traffic. How Shanamara was not included in the original TIA or is not being required, a new TIA is insane. You're going to have, that entrance will become useless, and all traffic will go to the divide entrance and exit, and then everything else will go left. So the people, Stevens Mill, to the gentleman's point, was not studied at all. And that is a devastating impact to the whole neighborhood, not just Shanamara, enclaves, all the different neighborhoods further down. These are not improvements. And in fact, they're going to kill our quality of life and probably plunge our property values. And I would say regarding TIAs that it appears the town has violated its own ordinances in not mandating Shanamara, enclaves, probably Fairhaven, Vickery, and several other neighborhoods, because your own ordinances demand that every street within 1 mile be studied. This did not happen. And when I talked to the NCDOT twice, they said it should have happened, or it usually does happen, and Stallings has a history of including neighborhoods. Why? It's inexplicable that this was not included. And I know some of you are new to this and didn't have a hand in it, but It's beside myself with it. Also, the comprehensive land use plan is a 252-page document. We saw one bullet justifying this project. 252 pages. There's going to be a lot of inconsistencies in that plan compared to this. So I would encourage this body here to go back and look at its own ordinances, make sure everything was done on the up and up. I think we're to the point where not only is this an obvious denial, but do we go back and look and see, was everything followed correctly in the initial zoning? There's no one's informed, and it's amazing, and thanks to everybody who did come out tonight, it's amazing that we got this many people, because if this were such a good thing, you guys would be shouting from the rooftops. But you've done everything you can to hide this from everybody.
Amen.
Everything. I'm 90 feet away, and I don't get notices. It's insane. Real quick, people will die turning left, and I want that on the record, out of Shanamara. Max, put that on the record.
Thank you, thank you.
Next is Michael Wilson.
Michael Wilson, I live at 236 Limerick Drive. My home will be looking straight across the road at the proposed townhomes. On my section, there's very few trees to almost no trees on the upper end of Limerick, so there will be no visual buffer between our home and the apartments. I understand that they're talking townhomes, but this also allows for, this zoning, conditional rezoning, allows for apartments if they so choose. And it's my understanding from the developer that they will sell off this tract and to another party, and they will develop it as they see fit. My concern is this not congruent with our own neighborhood, transferring from single-family homes that have been there historically for 20 years to a new multifamily or apartments right adjacent to them. If you look at the Stenton Farms plan, I assume that's official, it has a row of single-family homes that adjoin Shanamara all up the side. So I would suggest if the board considers in the future, or if the developer considers that, maybe they shift that to single-family homes rather than multifamily homes. I'm not opposed to the commercial on the corner, but I am opposed to the multifamily along Shanamara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tom Twitchell.
Evening, planning board members. To level set here, my name is Tom Twitchell, 910 Bailey Court. My home borders the proposed townhomes. The corner where you see that green landscape barrier tie into that gray outline, our home is directly behind the first yellow block of proposed townhomes, just to give you some perspective. I think it's important to level set. One thing is the motto for the town of Stallings, and the fact that it was originated and designed to not only empower, but also to guide decisions made by the town and the planning board to create a small town feel in a place that is livable. This project and the way that it's been managed in the past, which predates most of you, if not all of you, does not honor the motto of the town of Stallings. Stallings, I don't know if y'all are aware, 17,000 people in the town of Stallings. That's a small town. Shanamara, 2,000 people, 11%. We have about 50, maybe 60, maybe even now 70 people here. That is a crime that 2,000 people that are going to be massively affected by this development, in addition to the people up and down Idlewild and the rest of Stevens Mill, are not aware of what's happening tonight. That's wrong. There's been a conglomeration and a sequence of events that have allowed certain things to pass that allow within 500 feet, making people aware. That's not even a softball throw for somebody that's got, a gifted arm. So that's a problem. We had a neighborhood meeting in December, and since then, a number of things have changed, but I will try to focus on the specifics at hand tonight. I'm going to tie into a few things that have been said by the people that were up here earlier. The TIA that was conducted, it concluded, as was noted, in September of '23. It was conducted much prior to that, during the height of the pandemic, when a lot of that information was pulled and codified and memorialized in that document. And NCDOT's wisdom at the time, as was also noted, was to say, oh, this development will probably only increase traffic by about 1%. That's woefully inaccurate. That alone would justify having another TIA before this moves forward. The sheet that was presented by counsel of the developer listed a large section of exceptions. It started out with area A and B, A being residential, B being commercial. There are many statements within those exceptions listed that say it will be done as generally depicted. There is another comment that's repeated several times saying that it will coincide with a flexible development plan. I have a career in commercial development. Both of those are fraught with problems, those two statements. Flexible development and generally depicted, that's not acceptable. And it's certainly not acceptable to the constituents that aren't represented tonight. We need a new TIA. It needs to be one of the key things that's driving the decision that you all make tonight when you rule on this. The tree save that was talked about, where in the past it was going to be specific to certain sections of the development, saying no, it'll just be in general. What that means is there'll be less tree save. That's the bottom line. So the depiction that was given, the graphic where they showed here's what the tree save and the type A buffer will look like, that's inaccurate as well. The canopies that were drawn on those trees show a canopy that starts probably about 6 foot from the ground and goes all the way up 30 or 40 feet. I live backing onto the forest that would be part of that tree save. The canopy starts at about 30 feet. So this development would be entirely visible below that canopy. It is not represented well in that graphic. Two last items. Donegal Court cut through. That keeps being brought up. Nobody wants that. And that would also probably coincide with a Limerick cut through. Nobody wants that either, particularly people that live on Limerick. I question how that manages to continue to find its way into these plans and why it's being brought up as something that might be desirable for the people that live in the town. And the last thing that I'll bring up is that although what's been going on predates most of you, if not all of you, and it predates most, if not all of the people on the town council, you have an opportunity to make a decision this week and in a couple of weeks. And you will be able to make a change with the way this development is rolling forward and speak effectively and clearly for the people in the town. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Dennis Slater.
It's already been handled.
Suzette McDaniel.
Good evening, Suzette McDaniel. I live at 7047 Kidwelly Lane. I just wanted to echo that I agree with all of the comments that have been made so far. As shared by others, have serious concerns that the proposed traffic improvements are not enough, or transportation, I should say, improvements are not enough to effectively handle the additional trip counts. The infrastructure plan is incredibly short-sighted and unrealistic to only view this area in isolation. I encourage all of you to say that we need a new, much more comprehensive, realistic TIA before any of this can move forward. Thank you.
Cherie Bolig. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
That's all right. I'm well used to that. Sherry Bowley, 7038 Kidwelly Lane. Okay, I'll make hopefully 3 short points. Again, in regard to the TIA, and now we all tonight have recognized that the TIA was done on a Monday morning. I think it was a 4-hour study in the middle of COVID. And we understood at our Shanamara neighborhood meeting in December, we thought what we heard clearly was that after the discussion of the development, that because of all of the issues that were brought up, that we met criteria to have a new TIA done now. And one of the main reasons was because what was said was that the TIA that was done in 2021 did not include all of the new developments that have already been started. So when there's conversation that there will be decreased trip usage to the storefronts and the gasoline station, then with all of the new development that we have that's impacting the traffic now as it is, then there's no question that that there will be a tremendous increase of stops at all of these shops, especially if we're increasing more cars at the townhomes. So another reason to consider very quickly getting the new TIA set up so that we can evaluate that for the roadways. Okay, 2 other things. Water hasn't been discussed tonight. Water was discussed a lot at our meeting in December. And one of the questions or concerns that came up repeatedly is that Stallings is near out of the capability of being able to provide water to our citizens. And so with the development of this size growing and Stinson Farms growing, where is that water going to be coming from? And again, it was mentioned that many of you are new to this, so that's something that has got to be discussed. I believe that over the last couple of weeks with the storms, there were some areas in Union that were asked to conserve their water usage because of the shortage. So again, another point to be discussed. And the last thing I'll just mention, I don't live on Limerick, but I did wonder in my mind, and now it's crystal clear, for people that have lived on Limerick that back right up to the development, that have enjoyed that beautiful privacy of their backyard. Now, if those yards don't have already grown trees, or like many in the neighborhood, the trees have grown so tall that there's no low foliage, then that means that people that are living in a townhome are going to have a direct view right into all the backyards of the people that live in Shanamara. And I don't live there, but I think that that's rather concerning as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeannie Lindsay?
Hello, Planning Board. My name is Jeannie Lindsay, 5639 Anglesey Court in Shanamara. This proposed densely packed site plan is yet again great for developers' profit, but terrible for the 3 types of residents. Those 3 types are the previous, the current, and the future residents of Stallings, but the common thread in all of these is especially the children of Stallings. The previous Stallings residents who lived in homes along Stevens Mill for decades did not expect to see their homes rezoned to a higher tax burden without their knowledge. They didn't expect to have to ask the town to rezone back to single family in order to afford their taxes. They didn't expect to have neighbors around them sell and then be surrounded by a commercial site plan. I doubt any of those circumstances would have happened to the residents in Shanamara, and it should not have happened to the neighbors whose homes predated Shanamara. The town had an opportunity to correct that mass rezoning situation, but chose not to, so I would ask that you continue to distance yourself from those decisions tonight. The current Stallings residents who are adjacent to the site plan and those nearby who travel past it did not have the opportunity to weigh in on the mass rezoning because they weren't given notices. The Stevens Village site plan does not work for them for a lot of reasons. This plan is not in keeping with the town's important goal of transitioning, as was already mentioned, from lower density to higher density. with Stinson Farms through at least 4 subcommittee meetings with a development agreement with these same developers. It was negotiated that Clonmel Road and Shanamara would have single-family homes behind them. And then the site plan would transition to townhomes and then apartments with commercial located along Idlewild Road. The homes behind Stevens Village should have that same consideration with single-family behind them. Current residents in Stallings don't want to see their communities boxed in with commercial gas stations and fast food restaurants as highway pit stops. We don't want our limited precious water and sewer capacity absorbed like sponges by unwanted development at a cost to developments that we would prefer. And we don't want overcrowded schools made worse or the remaining old growth trees in town paved over. The future Stallings residents who rent from a corporate-owned entity in Stevens Village will be squeezed like sardines between a fence and a grocery store, not exactly living in a walkable activity center as a small area plan suggests. Which should be appropriate for that area. The tiny space for an amenity surrounded by this much density is the exact type of development that our expensive land use consultant claimed he was trying to prevent. Their small pool or whatever other small amenity for 118 homes located adjacent to a public dirty commercial complex is not the kind of placemaking our comprehensive land use plan claims to value. Meanwhile, a quick internet search shows that corporate-owned rental units are a huge national problem for several reasons, including recent charges against 10 large corporations for price gouging and price fixing, raising the overall cost of living. This time last year, North Carolina Attorney General filed a lawsuit against 6 corporate landlords for illegally working together to inflate the rents of state residents. Combined, these landlords only 6 of them managed over 70,000 units in North Carolina. We already have the national issue of corporate-owned rentals in Stallings with Stinson Farms because D.R. Horton is the unfortunate builder choice for hundreds of residential units there. These issues and the general unsustainable nature of unchecked growth have led Stallings to require conditional zoning for all high-density projects for many good reasons. Slowing the floodgate of new homes that the mass rezoning opened up should be a top priority. Since that mass rezoning in 2018, there are too many approved high-density projects already. Road improvements are only meant to mitigate the developer's own traffic, which is questionable in this case with the existing conditions taken in January of 2022, with a minimal scope to the TIA, which is now outdated with multiple newer projects that weren't included. Unlike South Carolina, we're not allowed to charge developers impact fees. In South Carolina, the fees are levied for sheriff, fire, emergency service, parks, recreation, senior centers, transportation, traffic, and more. In North Carolina, those funds come largely from the residents. The one informational subcommittee meeting for Stevens Village is not nearly enough to sort out the problems that this site plan will cost our town. Traffic is obviously a big concern, but it's still only a fraction of the real cost to the current and future residents of our town and our county, including, most importantly, the overcrowded schools. With Stinson Farms, these same developers came through the town's development agreement process and still refuse to make their site plan a true mixed-use plan to suit this town's small area plan. That's what opened up the novel legal question, which town documents carried weight, no thanks to our expensive consultant. Thankfully, this current rezoning request is more straightforward. The School of Government reports that, quote, "It's noted that no challenges to the denial of a rezone have ever been successful." So shouldn't development pay for itself? Or asked differently, why should town and county residents have increasing tax bills and rate hikes to cover development we don't want or need? This conditional rezoning request should be denied as it is. Thank you.
Chris Scarlatus?
Hi, good evening. My name's Chris Carlatos. I live on 237 Limerick Drive, which is backs up directly behind the the proposed development. So I too echo all the concerns regarding traffic. I think those have been voiced very, very well, very detailed. I learned a few things. I don't know if I'll sleep better tonight because of them, but, you know, I have two girls that, one got her license a couple years ago, one just got her permit, so I'm very much concerned about the traffic situation and the safety around that. So I too echo my concerns of my neighbors. One thing, and I don't want to sound accusatory with this, but every time I hear the zoning and rezoning and the proposals, the way it comes across to me is, hey, it's better than having commercial here, so just accept it. And that's not good enough. It's, what should take priority is our neighborhood, our town, and the betterment of that, not just, it's not just my house that's being impacted, it's the entire neighborhood. It's not just the neighborhood, it's the whole town. It's the people driving through it. So I think there's a better solution than what's presented here. So I am opposed to it, and I hope that it'll be sent back to revisit, especially around traffic. And I did have one specific question if this were to pass, and it's really about the topography of the development. So when we say 35 feet is the place where the proposed townhomes are, is that going to be elevated? Is it going to be more level at road level? Just kind of curious as to the height, kind of the elevation of that slope as it butts up against Limerick and other cul-de-sacs there. So I'd like to ask that question to see what's in the plans.
Do you have an idea what the proposed elevation is compared to the existing streets in Shanamara, like the height difference?
So we have not engineered the site yet, and we won't be able to do that until we engineer the site. But all I can point out is that the 50-foot remaining existing grade where those trees are saved in the 50 feet, that will remain at the same grade. And then we would obviously have to transition to wherever our grades are on our site from there.
So that's a key concern. Is the transition going to be up, stay kind of put? Is it going to be a gradual increase up to that level? Because 35 feet on top of, I don't know, another 10, you know, then you're looking at a 4 or 5 story building for the houses that back up against it. So 35 feet sounds okay, but when you put it in context, it's more intrusive to the neighborhood, and especially houses like mine that are right up against it.
Correct. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last, we have Brad Ray.
Hey, I'm Brad Ray, 909 Bailey Court, Shanamara. I come tonight mainly on behalf of this TIA that was, it was done, it was completed 2 years later. It doesn't hold water. I think anybody breathing in this room with common sense would say that does not support this development, right? You've got enough cars trying to funnel out of Shanamara already that is only 40 feet short of that light. Then you've got the light, and you got that multifamily section trying to funnel out of there. It just doesn't work. So this board, as Tom said, many of you weren't on the board when this decision was made. This board has a chance, though, to right the ship. Or they can turn their head and endorse this. But it doesn't hold water, and we all have to be accountable to ourselves in decisions we make. The other thing is, we've been, I feel like, held hostage here, in a way. We've been held hostage. We've heard more than one time, and I hope I don't have to direct everything this way, but we've heard more than one time, we'll just go ahead and build the commercial project. We got it. It's been approved. It's been approved. We'll go ahead and build it.
With no input from anyone.
With no input. However, I hadn't seen the commercial project come out of the ground. I'm not sure it can be built. It needs that multifamily to support it. Can you please ask the builder or the developer can they commit to building this today?
And your question is to the entirety of the project or a specific part of it?
Any part? Any?
And,
Yeah.
is there an idea on the timeline of construction of the different parcels or different pieces? If the prior approved would go first, or the residential would go first, or the commercial area B would go first? Is there?
To reiterate how you started your statement, if the rezoning is denied, we do intend to move forward with the plan that's already approved.
Perfect, thank you. Second question, please. Are you going to be doing that? Or are you going to dress this up to sell it?
We are a long-term land investor on the entire Idlewild Road corridor. We often bring partners in with us, and we remain in the deal, typically through joint ventures, to develop the property, and we would be a long-term holder of the commercial development.
So my fear is, this is, we're arguing over this now, but it could be another developer later. Okay, so this thing has got, in real estate, we say if the project's too hard, it's got a lot of hair, unlike me or you, right? This has got a lot of hair on it, and it's growing. And we need to hit the brake pedal and slow this thing down. I implore this board, everybody on it, to table this additional zoning. Because this does not make sense. This does not make sense. And like I said a while ago to the TIA, if you're in this room, you're breathing, you got any common sense, you know that TIA doesn't support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And that concludes public comment.
We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
One more back here.
Can I readdress?
Yes, that's up to you.
You can have three, you can have, let's do a minute and a half.
Do you want me to come back to the mic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Two things. Again, Tom Twitchell, 910 Bailey Court, Shanamara. Two things. The director of planning came up here and said the staff recommends this development. I think all of you need to question that and understand who is the staff and what are the underpinnings as to why a staff that purports to serve the town of Stallings, why they would recommend it. That's one. And the last one is, in the sheet that was prepared by the developer, item 10, item 10A, the changes and exceptions to the ordinance set out below in this paragraph 10 are being requested by the applicant, and such exceptions will be deemed to be approved in the event that the conditional zoning request is approved by town council. That's not the lead line, that was buried in the text of the exception document that was produced. Be aware that when you all vote and you all pass this on to the town council, if you choose to, or table it, which I think was an excellent suggestion by Mr. Ray, ask yourselves if an automatic approval of everything within this document is really what you want to do tonight. Thank you.
Can I have the opportunity to rebut some of the comments or respond to your additional questions?
We already had a presentation.
Yeah, full presentation.
Yeah, we only have 3 minutes.
Talk to the chairman.
I couldn't hear out there. It's up to the chair.
He has asked to readdress the planning board.
If you would like to talk to.
Sure. Same 3 minutes?
All right, I just want to point out a couple of things. This is not a legal or a technical term, but I want to make sure everyone understands. We're actually attempting to downzone all the property in Area A that's up against Shanamara. It's currently zoned MU2, which allows all those uses that are in the use table that are commercial. And so in my eyes, we are downzoning it from a commercial, and we have to come before you under this conditional zoning process to downzone it. And that's what we're asking to do here tonight. Another thing is I want to go back to, if you have any specific questions, I want to make sure everybody got that about the buffer. We started with a commercial buffer against Shanamara or residential zoning. We increased that buffer when it was going to be commercial against residential, and now we're back to residential against residential, and we've made it even larger. So we're doing as much as we can to increase the buffer, especially since it's just a residential use against a residential use. And then I want to quickly touch on the overall road improvements, because they do build upon one another. The first project that's about ready to break ground is Stinson Farms. And to help everyone visualize that, Stinson Farms is basically 4-laning from the Auto Bell. When you come off of 485 right now, that's 4-lane to get down to Auto Bell, and then the lanes start squeezing down. By the time you get to the traffic signal at the Goodwill, it's a 2-lane road. Stinson Farms is widening that 2-lane road into a 4-lane road all the way from Auto Bell to Stevens Mill Road. That's private money that's doing that. That's not NCDOT money, and that was based upon the traffic study that was completed for Stinson Farms. Then when Stevens Village comes in, it builds upon those improvements. Oh, and by the way, those aren't just things we're saying we're going to do. Those are commitments that have to be done before the first certificate of occupancy of the first building on the property in Stinson Farms. And then the traffic study for Stevens Village is built upon those improvements, and it assumes they're there. Once those are there, the additional improvements from the traffic study are being built by Stevens Village. And although the traffic generated from the current plan is less than the traffic generated from the approved plan, we're still willing to commit to do those traffic improvements on the higher trip generation from the already approved plan. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have. Thank you.
What is in the drawing up there, what's the light green differentiating from the dark green on the tree line?
We believe that the dark green has a very good forested tree line all the way to here. And when you get to the light green, there's only trees on the fence line. There may be property owners here that could better describe that than me, but in this light green area, it's not what I would call forested. It's more like a single row of trees. And that's where we're going to plant the type A buffer along with the fence to build that back as best we can.
Fill it in.
And type A buffer is the most dense buffer within the ordinance.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
You have people that want to have questions or want to speak.
What do you want to do?
I didn't sign up. Can't go on forever.
We're going to take a few minutes to talk among ourselves on this, and we're going to vote on the motion.
No one's closer to this piece of property than me.
You have to talk out loud. You have to, it's an open meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's up to the chair. I can make that.
Just wait. I just don't want you to shut me down.
I think.
I'm negative on the traffic.
Yeah, same here.
Just if it has to.
I think part of our concern is from what we've heard, some of us would tend to agree about the TIA issue. That needs to be done. Given the current.
Much too old. The original one was much too old. It's got to,
What?
traffic has gone up every
it's
year,
gone up, yeah.
every 6 months from that time.
And with the additional developments
Yeah.
along Idlewild as well.
Right. So.
That alone,
That
There's additional
alone.
developments along Stevens Mill. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
when that started, the enclaves weren't there.
Right. That's correct. There weren't. Anything else you see here besides that?
No, I think we should table it until the new,
Can I offer a comment to that?
nope.
Sorry, the
We're good. We're
public
good.
comment is closed.
Can I say it from here? Be sure that TIA goes farther than it did, because there's some neighborhoods on down Stevens
Correct.
Mill that need to be included.
We'll make,
We can ask.
we'll make sure we can request to how complete it needs, we can get it done. We won't do that.
So is the request to,
Say defer the request until the TIA is done
Table it, I guess.
versus just killing it?
You can't, I don't think you should kill it.
No.
No,
Let's defer.
I think you should table it
Okay.
until the report comes in.
Make that as a motion then? To defer it, defer the request? until-
Yeah, I move to table the motion, issue until a new TIA is presented.
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Please inform us when you have another meeting. We never seem to get informed the right way.
The second Tuesday of every month.
Emails
Are we the third Tuesday of every month?
shouldn't be the way it's informed.
Well, it'll go from here, the recommendation, this will go to the town council from here, and they'll have that discussion. I think that's it. You good?
You want to the next?
Yeah, because I don't know what the requirement, like, can we require them to get it in?
Well,
We're just saying
we
to
can,
them.
we can do that, sure, we can ask.
That seemed like a very reasonable report, traffic report thing.
I'm afraid, like, if we can't make them do it, town council can request them to do it?
Well, the thing is, I don't know how we get to town council to say, this is what we heard, you know, so.
Please, the meeting's not over. There's still other things on the agenda that we need to hear, so. That's,
We understand, it's important.
I don't know.
He knows, Robert. Okay, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, we still have to move forward in the meeting. Thank you, if you're all finished. Appreciate it, thank you. We have other issues to review.
What a way to start the new year. How can you approve something on a traffic service 21?
How do they do that? It doesn't make sense. Okay. Good night, I guess.
So Glenn, get what you,
sorry, what?
it will give you what you want. But you couldn't vote.
We got close enough.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we can go to the next one, right?
You can't table that. I was talking to a resident when the final decision was
We
being made.
we deferred it.
It's by state statute, including, it has to go to town council because it's been over 30 days.
So it either goes with or without a recommendation?
Correct. So it's going to go with no recommendation. By state statute, they have to go, the planning board has 30 days to make a decision. We put it in the agenda last month, there was no quorum. Now, we had the meeting today, but by the time it reaches March 9th, it's going to be over 30 days, and the applicant has the right to move on to council.
So what can
And
we
then
deny it?
So can we give a recommendation to council?
you can either vote to rescind your deferral and then revote, but everyone just left, so I'm not sure if you want to do that.
Then I would say we rescind the deferral
You got to vote on that, too.
and not approve.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
So we need a motion to rescind the vote?
Okay, so we need, I make a motion to rescind the deferral vote.
Yes.
I make a motion to rescind the roof.
Okay, I second.
All
Favor?
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And now we'll vote on to send to council with the recommendation or without recommending.
Deny the request is submitted?
If you would like to. You recommend denial based on the submittal, and you can add conditions on it.
denial based on the TIA not being updated and needs to be redone.
Was that a motion? Was that a motion?
It's a motion, yes.
Second.
All
All
in
those
favor?
in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then
That's-
we also have to do a statement of consistency and reasonableness.
That we fund,
So you could vote it, sorry, I made the last slide to make it easier on you. So you could do you believe that it's consistent or inconsistent with their adopted plans, or and reasonable and not reasonable with the comprehensive land use plan? You have to make that decision as well.
It's inconsistent with the development plan.
yeah, I would agree.
So someone will have to make the motion.
Can you make a motion that the statement of consistency with the proposal is inconsistent and not reasonable with the comprehensive land development plan?
There a second?
Second.
Do you have a reason?
The TIA is outdated.
Okay.
Out of date.
Okay,
All
we have a
favor?
second here.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And so we'll go to council on March 9th with a recommendation of denial from planning board. So I
Okay.
just want to let you know, because of the TIA.
Correct.
Not being up to date. Okay.
And from now on, I actually can't leave the room.
Sorry, I was actually listening and then I ended up having a conversation with a resident. I apologize.
You want-
There's a lot of people out there.
Explain to them then, because they're still waiting behind you,
What would you like me to explain?
what we just did.
Oh, they recommended denial.
All right.
Good job. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Next on the agenda is conditional zoning CZ 25.04.01 Pleasant Plains Town Center 2.
Okay. And I also have a meeting sign-in sheet from that as well. There's, I think, two people. But two people on that. Okay, so this is, that's the wrong name. I apologize. I meant to change this to conditional zoning CZ 250401 for Pleasant Plains Town Center 2. So just ignore the.
Well, it's just that Lane's the other one.
Yes, it was just the template for the title.
Okay, that's what I thought when I looked at that.
Yeah, so I apologize.
2 blocks from my house.
So the applicant, Mr. Jolly, with Consultant Urban Design Partners, submitted a conditional rezoning request to change the property at 3732 Pleasant Plains from Town Center to conditional zoning Town Center to accommodate 60 townhomes. We had the neighborhood meeting on June 3rd, and the original proposal included shopfront units, so commercial units. And they are allowed to move forward in the process because it's a less intense use that they're proposing now. So changing from commercial to residential is less intense. And then there's planning board today and town council. This will actually be March 23rd. This is updated online, not in my presentation. I apologize. It's not going in next Monday. This is going to council on March 23rd.
Okay.
February and March have the same council and council dates, so they're,
Even more confusing.
yeah. So the current aerial is, there's a minor car repair shop, so they do upholstery on the site. And it's quite large, so if you look at, sorry, I'm gonna go back to the site plan. It is 6.17 acres total. And this is the site plan, it's for 60 townhomes. They're incorporating the streetscape. They're required to incorporate the streetscape, and I want them to add conditions based on the streetscape plan at the front. They've changed the frontage from shop fronts to townhomes, and the rest of the development has a drive with 60 townhomes. And the zoning is town center, adjacent to multifamily transitional. Excuse me, I just need some water. I was like unable to talk for a second. The future land use plan identifies this area as walkable activity center, which is very similar it's the same future land use, what I proposed for the previous conditional rezoning. This one promotes a walkable area with a mix of uses. It no longer incorporates that, but they do have streetscape and a walkable component to future possible commercial in our town center, which is not currently there yet. We do have, the Asian market and commercial out parcels. So that's just something to consider. Do we want to make the recommendation just based on the parcel or the overall future land use for the entire area? The town center small area plan also identifies the frontage as offices and the rear as townhomes. So the use of only townhomes is inconsistent with the small area plan. So staff does recommend approval to rezone the property to CZTC as long as the following items are addressed. So the final streetscape and greenway design is incorporated into the site plan and their standards incorporated in the conditions. The internal pedestrian connections and small open space areas should be integrated to support walkability for the town center area, and submit and create a list of conditions like the previous conditional zoning for the first Pleasant Plains Town Center to create design consistency and harmony in our town center area. You have any questions for me? The developer is also here to present.
Can you just give me a brief description of town center, just for?
Yeah, so town center is a walkable commercial center, like a downtown. I would pull up their definition, but you have in your presentation?
Oh, no, I have an idea. I just wanted to make sure everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the exact definition memorized, but I'm glad you have it in your presentation. I would pull it up. I was going to pull it up online, just to make sure everyone's aware of the town's definition.
But Max, isn't one of the requirements that the front of it be
Commercial?
commercial?
So there are no requirements, but the future land use plan and the small area plan recommend the uses to not be residential on the frontage for town center. So there's no requirement, but that's why they're bringing in, that's why they originally brought in commercial as part of their conditional zoning, because staff urged them to create a town center type of area with commercial zoning up front. But the applicants changed the site plan based on site conditions, and I'll have them explain that in their presentation. And then I'll give you this too.
Thank you.
Sorry. All right, good evening. My name is Steve Singleton, Senior Design Consultant with Urban Design Partners, and we're representing the developer Josh Jolly, who's here for this project. So I think you're already aware of the site, so no need to really go into this unless we need to, but certainly kind of, we see this as a potential future gateway, if you will, coming from Matthews into Stallings. You can see the county line in black, so we're not quite at the county line, but the existing development to the west is already there. It's loaded with townhomes and residential. We feel like this development, when developed, would be the first new, fresh development on Pleasant Plains in Stallings, so it would create this sense of a gateway feature. So a little bit of site context. This is kind of an aerial view, just looking down, looking south on Pleasant Plains. So the subject site is here to the right, on the right-hand side. I think you guys are probably aware of the location. But just for context, I want to point out some of these items on here, and there's no need to really read all of these, but I did want to point out the fact that there is no on-street parking. That's going to become important later, because that's really important when you start talking about commercial riteil uses. Obviously auto-oriented and very limited in pedestrian connectivity. And in fact, you can see in the image, currently there's no pedestrian infrastructure on the right-hand side or south side of Pleasant Plains.
That's looking direction going toward Potter.
We're looking toward, yeah, sorry, look from Matthews looking towards Potter.
Okay.
So subject properties on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah, just shy of the Potter intersection. And then because of the lack of infrastructure and some of the other points I just pointed out, there's no established retail pattern or destinations currently in the town center. So we understand that that's the goal, and we strongly support that goal and encourage trying to achieve that goal. We believe that we're going to show you how we believe that we can help the town achieve that vision with townhomes. And then I talked about the gateway already. So
Town center definition, as you guys kind of asked, no need to really go through all these, but I wanted to highlight some of these taken from your land development, I'm sorry, comprehensive land use plan based on town center. The top one is more just the summary. The town center district envisions a walkable mixed-use core, and I think it's important to point out that based on the comprehensive land use plan, it encourages mixed use. There's no requirement for mixed use on every parcel. And I think Max even mentioned that might be something that as a planning board need to kind of decide and maybe cancel as well. But based on the interpretation of the comp plan, the goal is to create a district that has a mix of uses that would be supported by residential, and you have to have rooftops to support commercial retail, which we know. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on there as we move into the site plan. And so it's not like an illustrative plan just yet. We're still on the very preliminary stages, but hopefully just the color kind of helps understand the massing with landscape versus hardscape, and then the gray areas are just the rooftops. So as Max mentioned earlier, the initial submittal was shop front, first floor commercial retail with residential above. He also mentioned the previous Pleasant Plains project that I believe you guys are aware of that was approved. Just for context, that was kind of a similar building type. And so fast forward to this project, the initial plan was commercial retail, first floor, single family, and then townhomes behind. And so what had happened, there's a couple of reasons why we believe the townhomes is a better application. But first and foremost, and you may have noticed on the timeline from the June neighborhood meeting, it was January of this year before we had that next meeting. There was a big delay. So the reason for that was we actually got a geotechnical report, and that study uncovered the fact that there was an old farm pond right in the middle of the site, literally about an acre in size and about 12 foot of depth of unconsolidated fill. And so while it doesn't necessarily impact the layout for you guys, it is a significant obstacle to overcome for this thing to be feasible. So the challenge then is, why would we want to take a risk on commercial retail when we know townhomes are in demand and would be, they could be sold? So we just feel like it's the safer play while also helping achieve the goal for the town zoning district here in Stallings. So a couple other things to point out as well with the site plan. So the proposal, and I'll go into some imagery or character imagery here in a moment, but the frontage, the fronts activating Pleasant Plains, so that would be the front door. Obviously, you'd have a rear-loaded alley behind for garage and parking. And the goal there, though, was to create that synergy with pedestrians, people, porches, and then the streetscape that we've talked about to truly activate that edge and create a precedent on Pleasant Plains for what we believe would be a precedent and then hopefully spur or catalyst for future development towards Potter Road to create what we hope and what we want in Stallings, which is that connectivity. So that language is kind of the face along Pleasant Plains. The other changes we made in response to some of the neighborhood concerns, one of those concerns was parking. Adjacent townhomes have issues with people trying to park in front of their driveways or on streets because there's not enough adequate parking. And so what we tried to do was address that. And so while we've got 2-car garages, or the opportunity for 2 cars to park per unit, the central spine, which is the kind of primary public street then that is perpendicular to Pleasant Plains that comes through the site, we've widened that slightly to put on-street parking. And so this graphic just shows one side, but there's room to do both sides if we believe that was the right approach. And so the goal, some challenges with wider streets though, from a planning purpose, wider streets create, the psychology of wider streets increases speeds and decreases safety. So the goal here would be to put bump outs, if you've ever heard of bump outs or bulb outs on the ends, and maybe even mid-block as well, to create visually a narrow street, reduce those crosswalks. It creates organization for parking, but it also provides the opportunity for parking for visitors or residents. So that's another feature that we added as a result of concern from the neighborhood meeting. And then last, or not last, but another comment, we've also decided that this plan would be better, it would better serve the community here if it terminated in green space rather than more townhomes. So we haven't made the changes yet because we're still trying to capture all the comments and feedback before we finalize plans. But we've already, the developer and myself, or Urban Design Partners, is committed to removing at minimum the 4 that you see on the very southern point of that terminating feature, potentially all 7, and then creating more of an amenity for the community here, and then perhaps picking up 3 or 4 more somewhere else on site when we get into design and permitting. And that was also a comment or a concern from adjacent neighbors, was they were concerned that these tenants may come over and utilize their amenity or their pool, and they were hoping that we could provide an amenity. And so while 60 townhome units does not justify or warrant a swimming pool, it does, we do believe that adding amenity, dog park, open space, mail kiosks, or whatever would be an amenity for the community. A couple other things to touch on with the site plan. Well, I think I've addressed them all. We can come back if not. So a little moving kind of into just the look and the feel of the form. I'm talking the bump outs, and I think if some of you nodded your head, so you're aware what those are. But the 2 left-hand images are just what those would look like as far as like a bump out, just a concept. It's not actually our design. But I think the form and scale on the right-hand image, this is not the design, by the way. This is more just about form. But this is kind of the scale and what we believe would be that look with on-street parking down that center street internally with townhomes up on the edge and then rear loaded with garages. We have actually reached out to an architect to start the process of getting plans or elevations and renderings prepared to help kind of capture the look and feel. And then our request ultimately would be that just gets either maybe through council, they might actually have some idea of the direction for the architecture and then actually have it finalized during design and permitting. So these are just like, this is again not our product. This is just other built environments that we feel like start to capture the essence of activating the edge with people instead of commercial retail. And again, the concern for us is commercial retail developers, they live and die by rooftops, they live and die by pedestrian connectivity. And the reality is right now, it just doesn't exist on Pleasant Plains. And so it's a great risk to do that. But we do believe activating the front with townhomes like you see here would be a good first step. Porches, large sidewalks, and kind of pedestrian connection. Just another one, kind of a Ballantyne area, but just it starts to capture maybe a 3-story product and the relationship to the street. The distance from the building face to the curb is approximate to what we're showing on our plans. But depending on final design, we may pull it a little closer depending on the greenway or streetscape standards that we come up with. And then this one is starting to capture a little more about the look and feel that we believe would be best maybe for the frontage on Pleasant Plains. 2 to 3 story is permitted. So we showed you the 3-story products. This is the 2-story product, but really starting to capture some architectural language that's attractive, of visual interest, breaking up the buildings. We've got porches, we've got a sense of front door, and then a connection to the street. These are all the design features that would be imperative for the townhomes on Pleasant Plains. And so just a few more slides and then I'll wrap up. But I think, again, I've already kind of talked about why commercial is risky, and I don't really want to read these. I think you can. And first of all, yes, this is not Stallings. That image is obviously Matthews. I'm a Matthews resident. I drive by this every day. The only point is, in Matthews, where they have the connectivity, they have the pedestrian and rooftops, and you can see it on any weekend. It's pretty busy. This is sitting dormant and didn't survive currently, or never even opened in Matthews. And so I think the concern from us then is commercial is risky at this time in this environment. On the flip side, we believe residential works for these purposes, but primarily because it would create immediate residential demand. We know that. People want houses, they want townhomes. We already talked about Stallings growing, what, 6 or 7%. So there's certainly demand for the product. We talked about the front doors, the activation of the edge, regular day and evening activity, right? People are known to police their own environment where they live versus commercial, which would be shut down after business hours. So we believe this is more 24/7 engagement versus 8 to 5 or whatever commercial might be. So these are some of the reasons we believe residential works. And then just to wrap up, while we believe our site plan and proposal works for these reasons. So if we activate the street now, we encourage and believe in the long-term play for the town zoning district, and we believe that this proposal, as we've presented it, helps deliver that sooner than avoiding the risk of potential vacant retail. 2, we believe this builds the foundation for future retail. So again, if we can create a precedent for that streetscape edge, the streetscape that we've talked about, and activate that with people, that becomes a catalyst for future development. So we believe that as we grow towards Potter Road, we're setting the foundation for that future connectivity for retail. And then obviously, I've said it before, but we believe our plan advances the town center vision responsibly. And so you can kind of read the points, but that wraps up the presentation. So if you have questions.
What is on the west side of the property?
The west side of the property is a I wonder if I have any.
Single-family house.
So it's a single-family house. Yeah. It's an acre or acre and a half. Yeah, I mean, I don't have an aerial, but this piece right here.
It is.
So
And then going down behind that house, what is it facing?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What is it facing as you go past that property further south?
You mean south on Pleasant Plains?
No. You got the single house up there by itself, and you come down.
Oh, yeah.
On the angle.
Yeah.
What's the next to that? Because it's housing further down, but not right in that area.
It's a neighborhood. Well, there's a detention pond right there. I wish I had my aerial.
It borders a multifamily development. There's an existing townhome development right there to the west.
I think that's a pond, literally right there adjacent, but yeah, it's a development, sorry.
There's no on-street parking in front of on Pleasant Plains.
It's an NCDOT road. They're not gonna allow on-street parking, but I firmly believe as a planner, on-street parking is really needed to really justify commercial retail in a town center environment.
What about you gonna have a sidewalk in front?
Yeah, so what we're showing, and Max touched on it, I mean, we still need to work through the details so that it aligns with kind of the town's streetscape standards. But the streetscape standards as it currently exists asks for a 30-foot paved section, which seems really large, especially when you consider the scale of Stallings. And I mean, not to go into too much detail, but Charleston to Matthews, or pick out what you guys think you kind of want to look like, wax off. I think 12 foot really is that magic number, but we're willing to go, 18 or whatever helps bridge the gap with planning.
Max, what's the width of that sidewalk that was put in when they redid that Potter Road, Pleasant Plains intersection?
I actually am not aware at the top of my head, but it's larger than 6 feet.
Because that only goes so far down westbound on there.
We can present that measurement to you in an email and present that as part of our into council.
Yeah, because what I'd like to see with this going in, because that sidewalk only goes so far on that side of the street, then it stops from where the road construction was. And if this is going in and has the sidewalk, you have to continue that further west. So I don't know if it connects it or not with this going in. I'd be curious to see that. All right.
To you, and then also present to council as part of the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
The way we presented this for the last Pleasant Plains, just since that precedent was already established, was to commit to a 12-foot concrete sidewalk. There's also supposed to be a 6-foot brick paver, utility strip, if you will, from back of curb to that 12-foot sidewalk, which on here, we're showing street trees. So in an urban environment, if you can imagine, that would be trees and tree wells, right?
Correct.
On that last Pleasant Plains, the conditional note was that we would keep that as turf currently, because we believe grass or landscape makes it more comfortable for pedestrians to have that literal landscape buffer between cars and the sidewalk. And at a point in the future, when development came online, left or right of that development, And they were asked to put in the brick paver strip that our development would then comply as well. So you
Would there-
have that precedent.
Would there also be a fence in front of, a fence in front of the pond?
Depends on the design of the pond. I mean, if you keep it shallow enough, there's no reason. I mean, unless that was a requirement, we could do a fence.
Okay.
Just depends on the design.
And then the greenway that's on the west side, how wide is that?
Greenway on the west side.
That little strip of greenway behind the last road, those townhomes on
Oh,
the
sorry,
left
yeah, I'm
side.
sorry. So the buffer, the perimeter buffer is 20 foot. It's a 20-foot type C buffer.
Okay.
And we'd be open to a fence as well, if that was,
Okay.
if that helped. One more thing too, I think just as a planning board, and, because I'm a Matthews resident, and I'm spending a lot of time here in Stallings, so I care about you all. There will have to be further coordination to achieve the on-street trees that we keep talking about, and that is in the streetscape standards as well. Because again, because it's NCDOT, they don't like street trees in there right away, which frustrates me sometimes. That's gonna be a challenge we will all have to kind of overcome through design, permitting, or future planning sessions.
Just don't put in 40-foot maples.
They want like something that's gonna break away if you hit it, like something that's gonna snap.
Something that's
Trees
maybe
don't do.
15-foot max, that would be perfect, yes.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just concerned about the traffic, additional traffic. They just fixed Pleasant Plains. There's no turn lane into the shopping center on the other side of the street. In the mornings and the afternoons, it's backed up, still backed up, beyond this.
Yeah, we get out, come out of Callenwood and making a left out of Callenwood in the morning before the Weddington 485 exit opened up was bad enough.
I'm aware of it, because I've.
And now today, it's like, it was like, really?
Going right also.
Yeah, well, going right's come back at night now.
Going
so-
left, really tough out of Callenwood, right, is, yeah, no, we understand that. So, I mean, we're not even close to hitting the standard for a TIA. I mean, it's something that we could consider, but we're not even close to 1,000 average daily trips with 60 townhome units. Commercial retail might put us closer to that threshold, but townhomes doesn't.
Will there be a right turn lane into the subdivision going west?
There's no TI, there's no traffic improvements for this amount of townhomes. I would say, it would be like 150 townhomes probably that would trigger the TIA.
Okay.
Around that.
Okay.
60 does not.
All right.
Well, I noticed you have a public street that runs all the way from the front to the back, but dumps into private
alley.
streets it that way. But there's no way, without going on private streets, for somebody to turn around if they came in wrong.
Well, the alleys actually would meet fire code and allow for someone to turn around. Because the alleys themselves would be 20 foot in width.
Okay.
And it looks like plan left there, you're leaving that open to connecting to that adjacent parcel at some point? or-
I wish we could personally. I think interconnectivity is good planning policy, but there's no way to connect. It's chock full of buildings or wet ponds. In fact, yeah, that kind of bothers me when I look. I mean, all these neighborhoods are sort of pockets with no interconnectivity and no opportunity for future connectivity, unfortunately.
So in terms of the term town center, so this is still considered a town center, even though you're removing the commercial?
So according to the comp plan, this is still in the town center zoning district. And a primary use that is permitted in the town center zoning district is townhome. So, and I kind of touched on it earlier, that I think as a planning board and as a town, I think identifying what mixed use really wants to be. But I don't see how it's enforced per parcel. It's more of a district goal.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I think it's really up to the board to decide, and also sets a precedent how you want to vote. Do you want to vote parcel by parcel? Because if you do, this is promoting offices on the frontage with townhomes in the rear. But if you want to vote as an area for townhomes to support future commercial for town center, because you do need that residential component to support a town center. That's really, I would say, a policy decision, and we really haven't been confronted too many times about that yet.
Well, there's residential developments from this lot all the way down to McKee. We already have the residential on that street, you know? And
With
they're
the
all
pro-
separate, they're all
But this will be
individual
in
plots.
proximity with town center, and we'll be requesting a sidewalk that would promote a town center type of feel, so people be able to walk to those commercials and commercial developments, and hopefully the adjacent parcels would end up being developed to commercial, and these residents will be able to walk there. That's the plan, that's what the plan promotes. Sorry, I'm losing my voice already.
We chip away at these lots, these areas with residential, we're not gonna have a town center.
Yeah, and that's
You know,
a policy decision.
one block at a time, you know, everybody's got a good reason to have residential, to support a town center, but we don't have a town
And
center.
as our current residential is not walkable, so we gotta think about walkability opportunities for future residents and current residents as well.
If you look at the parcels to the east, the parcel we're talking about now does set itself up well for the multifamily residential unit. As you move east, those are better positioned for commercial. You get closer to the intersection there, which allows in and outflow of traffic a little bit better. Those parcels are smaller, and so they set better for the commercial shop front. And the only thing that is excluding this from being a town center designation, like just a by right, essentially, is that there aren't commercial shop fronts fronting Pleasant Plains anymore. Even if they were there, we would still be proposing the backfill with the townhomes. And to echo Steve's point, the one thing we don't want are vacant shop fronts. That was the big concern here. With 12 shop fronts fronting Pleasant Plains, we don't want to be sitting there with 12 vacant shop fronts. And you pull up the picture of the little vacant building downtown. I understand it was all set and ready to go for a specific restaurant. And the Flying Biscuit moved in and moved them out. So they decided they didn't want to be competitive that close to Flying Biscuit. And they went to Valentine.
Yeah, there were some lease disputes with the people moving in.
Right.
And I'm aware of some of what the.
Yeah.
Going
So that's
behind the
why
scenes.
it's still.
But
yeah.
the challenge now is because that was developed intended for a specific use, it's really hard to go back now and redevelop it for a flexible or another type of use because it was currently developed or at the time developed for a specific use. So
Just go to make it a parking garage.
Was there
it's needed for
was
sure.
there the possibility, or was there consideration given to doing like first floor commercial, second floor residential?
That's what we proposed initially.
Yeah.
That was on the original plan. They submitted that, that's what was presented to the public in June last year. And based on all of the months of discussion with council, with the developer, and they also did a study on the land, the wetland, the wet pond, is that what it's called?
The one we found?
Yeah, the one you found on the property, is making it not feasible to put commercial, and then they're proposing that if you put the commercial there now, there's no one to go to it. There's not a town center there yet. They don't have the rooftops.
There's just
to
not a
walk to
lot
it.
of commercial
And
folks that are interested either.
It might
honestly.
stay empty and not feasible for the developer to build.
I'm monitoring the other Pleasant Plains really closely right now because they're in permitting.
And they just submitted today.
They just don't have a whole lot of interest yet either.
I guess
so.
my reason for asking is I understand the attraction of the high density residential. I also understand the abandonment of the commercial aspect, and looking at it future wise is something that we all have to do. So if we set this precedent where we're like, okay, you can remove the commercial altogether, I'm not sure that we're not causing ourselves some headache down the road.
Well, you're not gonna have a town center.
Well, so that's why this is a conditional rezoning, right? That's why there's conditions upon it. We're not asking to change the zoning designation of every parcel that follows this. What we're saying is we believe this parcel sets up for a fantastic transition from the residential area, activates the street front, which is, we've heard over and over again, the importance of activating the street front, making it pedestrian friendly. We believe that it accomplishes that purpose while you then merge into the more heavy commercial development that is in the future and to come. So we're not asking to ban commercial on the road, but.
Right.
And you are?
My name is Josh Jolly. I'm with Rosegate Holdings. We're the developer on the project.
And I'll just pull up an aerial just so you can see the town center.
Yeah, that'd be
Max,
helpful, yeah.
And Max, you did say that it's not, in the town plan, it's not required to have commercial. It's
No, but
recommended.
it's not required, but it's recommended. When I talk to the developers, when I started talking to Steve, I was telling him, hey, our plans recommend these things. This is what I'm pushing them for during those early conversations before they submit. And that's why they originally submitted strop front on the frontage. But as things moved up through the process, it ended up being not feasible based on what the developers presented. There's a wetland right here somewhere, and
Pond, not
pond.
wetland.
I get wetland. I'm sorry.
Different permitting.
I apologize. But yeah, here you go. Here's the aerial. And there's streetscape plan required on the frontage of Pleasant Plains. Our ordinance requires it. We have a streetscape plan adopted. So that's why I'm pushing them to incorporate that. As you go towards the middle of Pleasant Plains and Potter, you get to more of a commercial-oriented area that we do have out parcels right here that could be dedicated to commercial. There is commercial, the multi-tenant here. They're proposing commercial as well, and then these sites are vacant. So there is development opportunity at this specific intersection. Does the planning board, recommend more residential here to then transition into this intersection for commercial?
Commercial more toward the
And
intersection.
That's up
Yeah.
to planning board.
I would just add too, again, as a planner, and maybe just for longer term considerations, really, for successful downtown or town zoning, if you will, a town center, it's about intensity of use. So if you're really going for a downtown street that we can envision as activated with commercial and retail and people walking and people dining on the sidewalk, that really wants to be in a designated area or intense area, if you will, where people can park wherever, walk to that, and then they can walk up and down that street. I know there's a long way to get from point A to point B where we are right now, but it seems like Potter Road would be, if we had to pick out a place to focus on in town center, that can become the urban core, and then you kind of go less use or less intense as you work out towards the fringes. I think that would make a lot of sense. And then we also know commercial retail usually thrives at intersections. So you start thinking about these two intersections on Potter, it seems like a logical potential.
But my understanding is the intersection at Potter and Monroe is going to be a no crossover, like 74. It's going to be a UE.
Yeah.
You're not going to go
It's
across
super-
directly from, you can't
yeah,
go from
super
Potter
street.
to Stallings
Right.
directly across from either direction. That's the last thing I read in the NCDOT part. You were going to, they were going to put the light there with the UEs, like make it like 74, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But,
So it would dead end, like where McDonald's
yeah, you
is?
make right turn only, and then got to go down to a UE.
It will do like a figure 8 loop.
Oh, I know what you're talking
So-
about, yeah.
So if I am coming towards Indian Trail, I'd have to turn around behind McDonald's, then go straight
Yeah.
into Stallings Road.
Yeah.
But that is splitting our town center area.
Right.
One of the council's directives for this year was to look into the small area plan. They are aware that the town center is being split by that super street.
Right.
I think we're looking into studying it in a year, because the super street has not been built yet and it's not being constructed. We're waiting to see how those land uses affect that area. This area is not being affected this far down with the road improvements, but they do have, there are a lot of road improvements in this area. Potter and Pleasant Plains just finished. There's a super street proposed on Old Monroe. McKee Road extension as well. The 485 exit just opened up on Weddington. So there's a lot of alternative transportation paths in this area that will get people here for a town center.
Now you just need destinations to
Yeah.
get people to stop instead of driving through.
Yes,
Which
and
is-
rooftops to get those destinations here.
Right.
Okay.
So do it.
So just out of curiosity, you guys are gonna have to cut and fill, or what, to mitigate the bad soil, or?
Pond, you've got two options. One is to completely excavate the entire pond.
Which is about 12-foot depth at average.
At the deepest point, it definitely is, it's over an acre. And then backfill it with structural fill. The other is, they're not helical piers, what's the name that's escaping me? Yeah, you call them something different than piles, but large
Right.
helical piers that you sink into.
Like
the-
caissons, yeah.
Correct, that you pound into the dirt to stabilize the structure so that you can build.
Okay.
Pay to fish.
So
You have to move forward, yeah.
Any other questions?
The problem is they didn't fill it in with the right dirt, so we can't build on it. So the poor fish are already gone. They're already out of luck.
They weren't planning on building on it.
I don't know what they were planning on, but they didn't use the right dirt to build on.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No.
We'll have a public comment.
If you, yeah, it's a, you don't, okay, as planning board, we added public comment because there were so many people. The planning board usually does not have a public comment period, but I would address that now. I would continue with it today, for sure.
The first person we have is Dennis Layden, which I believe was, I think he signed up for the incorrect list.
Oh, okay.
The next one is Nodal Zakic? Can't quite make out what the,
Anybody here to speak on this
Hotel,
rezoning?
Zakic?
anybody that would like to claim to be this person to speak for 3 minutes?
Okay, not here.
All right. So with no further questions and no public comment, it's up to us to decide if we're going to pass it along with recommendation or without. Right?
Correct. And you can also recommend conditions if you'd like to.
Can you just real briefly, I'm sorry, you had made some recommendations for them to make changes. Could you bring up that list again?
Of course. So I want them to incorporate this final streetscape and design incorporation. Right now, we had a text amendment to amend some of our streetscape design, but that's gonna go to you next month now. But we can still talk to the developer about how to make the streetscape work. Additional pedestrian connections to open space as well. I know he mentioned that he was gonna create an open space and maybe some additional areas to support walkability in the area. And then create a list of conditions. And also the list of conditions, I want to be in harmony with the approved Pleasant Plains Town Center 1 because it is in the town center area.
It's called Pleasant Plains Town Center?
I might just ask the developers to rename it. Please. I named it, and I know it's a little bit confusing, but it was very similar projects at the time.
These, I say no.
Except on different sides of Pleasant Plains. Now it's changed. Every project changes during the process, yeah.
Okay. What do you guys, how you guys feeling? Go with the approve pending these conditions being met? Okay.
I maybe have one more question.
Okay.
I saw it's a single in, single out. Is that, we're fairly certain that's going to get approved that way with the single ins? With a single entrance and single exit, right?
I mean, TBD, but yeah, I would think so.
There's no real back entrance like in Callanwood to go out from there.
Yeah, it is really up to NCDOT. They have, but they're not required to do traffic improvements. And our engineer has looked at it and didn't have any comments.
I think our frontage is just short enough of what NCDOT typically wants for two driveways. But that would be uncovered ideally due to permitting.
Okay, then I'd like to make the motion to recommend on CZ 25.04.01, Pleasant Plains Sound Rental Center 2, approval of the request with the recommendations of what staff has just recommended to us. Following items need to be addressed for staff recommendation: the final streetscape greenway design incorporation, the internal pedestrian connections and small open space areas should be integrated to support walkability in town center. Intent, and create a list of conditions like the approved CZ 25.02.03 Pleasant Plains Town Center 1 for town center design consistency and harmony. All in favor?
I second.
Oh, you second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
And now we have to do a statement of
Reasonable
consistency
and
and reasonableness. I'll zoom in on this one because I think the last one, it's really hard to see. So, yeah.
I can't read it.
So you could make a statement that it's consistent or inconsistent with their adopted plans, like the comprehensive land use plan, unreasonable or not reasonable. And you can have a reason as well. I just have an example reason here.
So would someone like to make a motion to find it reasonable and consistent?
I'm making a motion to find out reasonable and consistent within the existing plan, given the recommendations that need to be looked at.
That works.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that one's going to March 23rd to council.
323.
Okay.
Yes, 323, not 223.
And next on the agenda is conditional zoning CZ 25.10.01 Chestnut Lane mixed use.
You too.
Can't even see, sorry. Okay, so this is actually the Chestnut Lane mixed-use one. So this is, yeah, conditional zoning CZ 25.10.01 for Chestnut Lane. Chestnut Lane mixed use is a proposed non-residential mixed-use development on approximately 5.86 acres. And it's on the southeast corner of the roundabout along Matthews Woodington Road and Chestnut Lane. The request seeks to rezone it from the Union County zoning of R20 to conditional zoning mixed use 2 with an annexation. Planning board does not hear annexations, but this is the final hearing and the final date of the conditional zoning and annexation have to be the same date.
It's at farm, right?
Currently, yes. So the neighborhood meeting for this was on December 2nd, planning board's today, and this is going in 323 to council. I apologize, I need to make sure that that's fixed online on the agenda. So the current property is, the aerial right here is a farm, it's vacant mostly. As you can see, it's in Union County as well. It's not a farm?
No, it's a single-family residential house that's being rented currently.
Okay, so currently it's a single-family residential house that's being rented. Here's the current site plan that they're proposing as a conditional zoning. I'll pull up a larger version of it, but as you can see, it's a commercial development with, they're proposing commercial and medical offices as part of their use. They're also incorporating a future developable area that could be anything within mixed use 2 and also a drive-through bank if it desired. But that's based on market conditions. And all that review would be administrative. That's what they're requesting for this rear area. There's also power lines going through the site, so a lot of it's not developed on the eastern portion of the site. So currently it's Union County R20. It's across from the Chestnut neighborhood. And the TIA is not required, doesn't meet the threshold as well for our standards. As you've seen, walkable activity centers everywhere. Everybody's really interested in rezoning and walkable activity center. It's a walkable mixed-use community is what they're recommending. I'm not gonna keep hitting future land use again, but the Chestnut Lane small area plan does differ than this. So it's recommending this to be all multifamily in this specific area. But this is, like I said, for an example, are we looking in just this parcel, or are we looking at the overall small area plan? Because we just approved Cottage Green across the street, which incorporates commercial and a mixed-use residential community with single-family, multifamily, duplex, and things like that. So it looks a lot like this area plan was flipped on what's been actually approved. So there was like a grocery store anchor on this side, but it ended up being Cottage Green. They're putting a lot of multifamily here, so it's changed our small area plan a lot. So staff does recommend approving CZ 25-1001 to rezone the property to conditional zoning mixed use 2. This rezoning proposes a non-residential mixed use development that's compatible with our surrounding intent of the mixed use zoning. It's consistent with our walkable activity center feature lanes for commercial. Even though it's inconsistent with the Chestnut Lane small area plan, we do believe it's reasonable. We just approved apartments across the street.
I was gonna say, this is right next to it,
Yeah.
right?
So we do believe that the additional commercial is reasonable in this area. Any questions for me? The applicant's also here again to present if you like to hear them first or ask me questions.
Let's hear.
Yeah. I'll let them present.
Yeah,
and
let
they can
them
talk to
present,
me. Yeah, I'll be here.
Max, I'm just likely to ask you the same question he's gonna have to answer anyway, so.
Yeah, I might just go ahead and say here.
Okay. It's officially my bedtime, so if I stutter, I apologize. But again, Steve Singleton, Urban Design Partners, representing my client, Brian Rollar here with Project X, is the name of his company. And he's the developer of this mixed-use property. We already kind of know where the site is. Max did a good job laying that out. Just thought I'd show this a little more for context. The primary features being Chestnut Farm Apartments, the existing roundabout, obviously the corridor there on Matthews Weddington, and of course the future, recently improved future Cottage Green development. So a couple of cool things that I think are going on in this area that really support the small area plan, the Chestnut small area plan. And so for one, we know that the comprehensive land use plan designates this as a community growth center, which is kind of outlined here, which encourages development at major intersections. So we believe this site supports that, that goal. We talked about the walkable activity center place type, so designing, encouraging pedestrian infrastructure. We talked about the Chestnut Lane small area plan, and there's two items that are really applicable to the site. One, development of a western gateway, is kind of stated multiple times for the small area plan. And so by developing this corner and in complementary in form and in function, I guess, or sorry, in a form to the Chestnut Farm Apartments, we believe that we really start to create what we want here in Stallings, which is a gateway at this roundabout. And then we talk about the entirety of the corridor also being activated as the Chestnut Lane small area plan. So again, we'll kind of get into how we're doing that comprehensively, but it starts right here with the Greenway Master Plan system. And there's quite a few trails that are proposed in this area. And so we know that currently we've got an existing 12-foot wide greenway. This is built, this is installed, and it does connect to Colonel Francis Beatty Park. We know that with the new development at Cottage Green, we'll have additional greenway and sidewalks installed. And then per the greenway plan, we also know that another component of that network is right here in orange. The greenway plan asks for this connection to be all the way down to Antioch Church Road, all the way up through our site, and then east on Chestnut Lane. And then finally, the gateway. So let's talk a little more about how we achieve that. Encourage mixed-use neighborhoods. It's one of the land use goals of their comp plan. And we believe that this project is consistent, I would argue, with the Chestnut Lane small area plan because it helps achieve these stated goals for the plan. So obviously, activating the intersection, the connectivity, we talked about greenways. Obviously, this graphic is representative of the small area plan. I think this makes sense to you, but in the background of the image would be the roundabout, and then, of course, in the foreground would be Antioch Christian Church Road. So with Cottage Green and then our proposed development, Chestnut Farm Apartments, we're starting to kind of see that infrastructure come to fruition. So our site plan, as we had up earlier, this is the site plan. A couple of things to point out high level. First and foremost, we really believe that activating the edge at the intersection is imperative, again, for kind of creating the gateway. The biggest challenge currently that has come up, and you can't see on this plan, and I apologize, but there is a lot of utilities currently that run at a 45-degree angle, I guess, through the site from Matthews Weddington up towards Chestnut Lane.
Right.
And so the building placement right now literally is right up on those easements. And, you know, the developer plans to coordinate with some of those utilities, and if there's a way to relocate and kind of bring some of that form closer to the intersection, or maybe even pivot the building to front a little better, that edge, that might be something we would consider, but it really is dependent on the utility coordination. I mean, gas, overhead, underground, fiber optic, water lines, you name it, it's all running through that corner. The second big item that Max touched on is the big gray area to the right. So we're calling this future developable area. Not sure at this point what that might be. A lot of it just will be driven by demand or interest. But the real challenge is what we can develop in that area. And again, I know it's kind of hard to see, but if you can squint, you can see kind of these double lines running through the site. So the whole eastern side of that site are overhead utility transmission lines, and those are easements that run through there. So there's a lot of limitations on what we can and can't do on the east side of the site. So the gray area, future developable area, as it's represented now, is about an acre. It's probably about a half, maybe a little less, that's realistically developable in the future with buildings. Now, we can park under that easement, but that will be TBD in the future. And then, like Max had touched on, that could be a small bank with drive-through if there's a need or demand and interest. Otherwise, it would just be a use that would be otherwise permitted in the mixed-use zoning district. The rest of these buildings are, and I'll show you images here momentarily, but single-story. The form and the building architecturally are going to kind of mimic, complement what's the precedent that's out there now, which is Chestnut Farm Apartments. So we'll get to that here momentarily.
The diagonal hatch there is what now?
And the lower plan east diagonal hatch is tree safe.
Okay.
Common open space. Some of it will be programmed, some of it will be unimproved, some of it will be improved, and then the rest will be stormwater. So we've set aside 10 or 12% of the site for stormwater, but it doesn't really get designed until we get to permitting. So moving along, again, kind of the architectural form and character. The Chestnut Farm Apartments, obviously this looks familiar to everyone in here, and we believe that trying to develop our buildings that are informed and influenced by this precedent is the goal for us. So that the two-tone palette, the contrasting dark versus light, the architectural board and batten and siding, which just gives it kind of visual interest, are all features that we're going to integrate into our architecture. And then last but not least, the pedestrian entrances. So making sure that there is a visual connection from the street and internally to these buildings by way of architectural fenestration, canopies, or other obvious points of entrance. So I've got a couple renderings here. Again, the whole goal is to kind of capture the essence of what has already been established at the Chestnut Farm Apartments. So from a pedestrian scale, single story, it's got that two-tone palette with the dark versus light. We've talked about some of the awnings or overhead canopies to signal that pedestrian connections. So this is just kind of an illustrative concept. We are working with an architect that will actually help take this and develop this further, but this is the goal that we are committed to achieving with this development. So this is kind of just another angle for the form, kind of the look and feel. And then another important feature too, just if I can go back to the site plan real quick. We talked about that intersection there, the roundabout, and how important it is to make sure that we capture or create a gateway. So the goal, again, ultimately will be determined as we figure out what we can do with utilities, but we want to make sure that that corner has some visual interest to help convey the gateway, whatever that might be. So it might just be more of the dark glazing that we see in these images.
To go back to that last slide. So the commercial's on the left, and then you've got two apartment buildings in the middle.
Oh, sorry, I didn't explain that. No apartment buildings. So it's all professional services or healthcare offices, medical office. Okay. We actually define the uses in the conditional notes, but it's typically everything that would be permitted in the mixed use, but the goal right now is medical office, professional services, and then we also have exclusions, which include vape shops and smoke, CBD stuff, all that kind of fun stuff that you don't want to have. So,
Starbucks?
I wouldn't rule it out, but I think that I don't think that
Permitted on the permitted list.
Conditional zoning, yeah, it would be permitted, but I think most of the new Starbucks I see won't drive through.
Yeah, I don't think we would do that on the site.
I would love to
Wouldn't rule it out. Starbucks.
Could walk,
came
I could walk in
asking.
my house, that's what I'm, I'm saying.
Love it, condition.
Yeah.
You know, it was more of a, this was not car-oriented, if you will, like car washes and
Oh, sure, okay.
transmission places and things like that, that's all carved out. This is more just kind of Class A retail and
Okay.
really kind of focus on health and wellness is what I.
Dress it up a little bit. Yeah, that's good.
Do we have potential tenants?
Do you have potential tenants?
So I have been hesitant to market because until I get approvals, I can't sign leases and commit legally to contracts. And so I was getting through the process first before we started marketing. More than likely, it's you know, the Pilates places, the med spas, dentists, doctors.
There's plenty of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Things of that nature, and making it a little more convenient so folks aren't having to travel, you know, 10 miles that way and 5 miles
Right.
that way. This it serves the direct neighborhoods.
It's like a neighborhood.
It's like an amenity.
It doesn't live and die by drive-by retail like Starbucks might. It's more of a destination. So the uses would kind of be in.
Yeah, well, we don't want empty buildings either.
What was that?
We don't want empty buildings either.
No.
Right, that's,
No, I
yeah.
mean, my whole existence is risk mitigation, right? So I think there's a good amount of absorption there. One of the other things too, I didn't want to overbuild here because there will be competing product in Cottage Mill. And so I didn't want to show over on that other side, like let's do all this square footage. Let's just see how the market reacts to it.
What have you guys looked at from a market standpoint, what the market will give you there? What typically businesses are you looking at that would probably be a good fit?
I'm looking at a lot of medical, a lot of the dentists, the doctors. I'm also looking at, I'm sure there's gonna be some restaurant of some sort, but I really don't try to over-restaurant things because one, the lenders don't like restaurants, too many restaurants, because there's a risk that they'll go out of business in a 2-year time frame. I'm looking at gyms, spas. I'm kind of hesitant to put any like national retail names out there just because I can't promise that, but I mean, sandwich shops, I'm sure a nice restaurant would go well there on the corner. I don't have anyone specific right now. Again, I've been getting some calls, which has been really great, right? The rezoning sign's up there and brokers aren't calling me. I'm saying hold off until we get through this process, and then we'll start developing it from there. Can you zoom in so I can see what are the proposed square footages on the areas there?
I don't know if I can zoom in on here or not. Show me how to do it.
12,000.
Oh, on this thing?
I think it's like 30.
So it's 14,000 on the building on the west side is 14,000. The building on the top is, there you go, 12,000. And then I think it's 10,000 on the bottom.
It's 14, 12, and 9.
So what we're trying to capture in conditional notes is up to 45,000 square foot, only to protect if we can work out some of the utilities and kind of create a little more infrastructure on the corner, and depending on what we can get in the developable area. So the reality is it's probably, like you said, may end up being on the smaller scale. We're trying to give ourselves flexibility.
I just developed a center in Waxhaw, where Prescott Village is. Do you know where that new Lowe's food store is? So they're right on, it's called Aspinall Way in Kimball. There's like a little, it's a 15,000 square foot center, which was kind of speculative, and that got 100% leased, and it's 100% stabilized within a year. It's done really well. I'm really looking to stamp something very, very similar to that. And that's got what Hotworks in it. It has Club Pilates, Lindora, which is a med spa. There's another like smoothie kind of place, little gym, dentist office, and a little burger.
Was the grocery store on your list at all, or too close to Harris Teeter?
I'm sorry?
Is there a grocery store on your list too, or is it too close to Harris Teeter?
The site is too small.
Too small
I
site,
think this
okay.
site was looked at for a grocery store in the past, but it's just not big enough. Those power lines.
Yeah.
That's a real big impediment there. And on the corner, is that Duke or is that Union Power? Thank goodness it's Union Power. Yeah, I was gonna say you don't want to deal with Duke.
Because you get down to and back about our subdivision, that's Indian Trail.
Yeah, so
Starts.
Union Power's been great. I dealt with them down in Waxhaw, and they had a transformer in 2 weeks, where Duke Power's sometimes 8 months.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I agree, engaging that street front would be a little better.
If we could,
But I understand the tolerances and setbacks that you have to deal with.
it is hard to see. How'd you zoom in on that?
Piedmont's usually good to work with. Union County's power is really great to work with. I just don't know how many
Just hold control.
folks are served.
It has to be,
on that
it has to be
line
in the
and how much
presentation mode,
interruption they can
and you can scroll in using this up and down.
stand, if you
So
will.
in
Yeah.
presentation.
Talk
Sorry,
about
you can't be in,
Union
sorry, out of
Power and
presentation.
open
Okay, yeah.
conversations, 'cause I would like to see
So I
it
can
go-
do this? Oh, yeah, look at that, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe it'll show up on here, but you can start to see all the line work through here, and I apologize, it's not easy to see, but, I mean, there's a ton of utilities through here that we've got to kind of navigate. But another, another thing that we wanted to show you as well is our initial submittal had an 8-foot planting strip and 6-foot sidewalk. And so after our subcommittee meeting and then talking with planning, we have agreed to a full greenway suburban spine through here, so 12-foot concrete path. So the entire frontage now has a 12-foot greenway.
It's actually really important that we engage folks coming from Strawberry, coming from Chester Farm, or excuse me, Chestnut Farms, and really getting this, everybody's walking up to it, and it really can be achieved right in this area.
Is there a dedicated crosswalk space from Chestnut Farms? Because, I worry about the pedestrian crosswalk.
It's actually part of the conditions that we have worked through with Kevin Parker was that we'd work with NCDOT and we would finish some of the striping to, or the crosswalks. So the one going north-south, you can see it kind of in gray, and then, I don't know why it's not on here, but, there will be one going across towards Chestnut Farms as well.
We're trying to push
And how-
everybody to where it's more controlled.
Now, since there's not,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so we're just where it's more controlled, instead of going like right across the street and
Oh, is this in the
trying to
way?
look both ways, it's,
Get out of here.
the speeds and everything around that traffic circle are all slowed down.
The biggest challenge to the people that live off of there is lack of sidewalks.
Right.
in neighborhoods to get there.
Right.
And I know we've had discussions with our friends in Indian Trail that didn't go too well outside of our subdivision, because when they built the subdivision, they only had to go so far. And you've got that senior community right across from Harris Teeter at Chester and Potter. And you've got about, and that sidewalk went pretty far, but you've got about a 200-yard gap of no sidewalk. And to walk out
We
of
had
it.
a really in-depth discussion about sidewalks here, that was our.
With subcommittee.
And to walk, and walk out of the back end of our subdivision,
Yeah.
you have to walk in the road to get on the sidewalk on the other side.
That's right, and so Brad Richardson lives here as well, and we had a lot of discussions
Right,
about how to
yeah.
get folks over here and safely.
Yeah, because NCDOT said they don't do sidewalks, as I called them. And when I talked to the Indian Trail people, they basically had to say, they said that we have to go across some other guy's property, we have to go across a creek, it's gonna cost $150,000, and we don't have the funds for it.
We're just gonna run it along the whole perimeter.
Okay.
Yeah, there's gonna be some gaps as you head east towards, is it Austin Village? I mean, the whole goal is to
Yeah,
have
Austin Village,
connection
that's
there.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it
I think when
may
the-
not happen,
When the
but
parcel develops across the street is when it's all really gonna come together. That 2 acre just south of Mario's, and then, you know what I'm talking about?
oh, just north, you mean up, oh, shoot.
So just north of.
Just
sorry,
north up
on the-
here.
Yeah, when that
Oh, on that
develops,
side,
that's
okay.
gonna really then tie it all together.
But that site's tough too, 'cause it's got a lot of topography.
It does. But we're providing every opportunity to connect because we want it to connect.
Mhm.
But it had, like, to your point, it has to be done safely because you don't just want to.
Because there's nowhere to walk
throw some
on
kids
Chester Road,
rolling
yeah.
across right at that main entrance, that
Chestnut,
might not
yeah.
be the best, because speeds are gonna start picking up and slowing.
And my concern would be, as they're coming around, and I go around that circle all the time.
Yeah.
And people come flying around from the other side and come zipping around that corner. That's,
I think they just brought it down to 35, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. It doesn't stop people.
I was gonna say.
There's no county sheriff sitting out there.
Signs don't slow people down.
I live on Providence Road in Providence Country Club, and you wanna talk about a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm not walking out on Providence Road, that's for sure.
So there's no requirement for a light at that entrance then? Okay.
So, but as proposed, I mean, now that you bring it up, it's a good point. This would be a ride-in and ride-out only. And then this would be, the goal is to try to put, how are we doing this? Oh, yeah, Kevin asked us to put left turn lane for both angles, didn't he?
Yeah, I think we have that in development.
Yeah, I think we
notes.
had that in conditional notes. So getting out of here.
I know that Cottage Mill is doing some improvements as well as part of their TIA. What we've also committed to is that we're gonna work with staff, when we know exactly who those tenants are going in, and we can run that trip gen table with the traffic consultants, if it ever trips over the 1,000, we'll do a full-blown traffic study and that scoping area and everything else that goes along with it. Right now, I don't think it's gonna trip, but it may, right, in the future, if there's more intense use, so. To monitor who's going in there, and then once it trips a certain number, if it does trip a number, then we'll have to do a traffic study. We also had a note here, there was little energy in the subcommittee meeting, was committing to the materials on the building. Sometimes you get nice renderings, and you end up with something that might not be as nice. Put notes in there that are basically saying using these materials, and like-kind materials. So it's really creating that gateway concept, right? We're respecting that. That's important for this part of town. I think it adds to the story, quite honestly, for leasing.
Okay. So anyway, this is the last slide anyway. So just development summary, another reason of why we believe this proposal works. So meeting demand for professional services, activating the corner gateway, which we talked about, the frontage component, the linkages, the greenway, a lot of good pedestrian connectivity in this corridor as a result of all these developments, including this one. And we believe ultimately it improves walkability, safety, and connectivity. So that's kind of where we're at.
Any other questions?
You have one subcommittee or two? I forget. I was just one on this one.
How would
I've
you
had
all
so
feel
many
about this?
Stallings now.
Any glaring concerns?
No.
Anyone make a motion to move forward?
I make a motion to recommend approval of the request as presented and approval of the request with any kind of recommendations that were made here.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Brenda, I'm gonna post that right here.
All right.
I always forget this.
Yeah, and then statement of consistency and reasonableness. I'll pull up the vote right here so you can say if it's consistent or inconsistent, or reasonable or not reasonable.
Make a motion to recommend approval of CZ 2.
Just use the, you can start at step
Oh,
2.
okay.
You already did step 1. Can we zoom in?
Proposal is consistent and reasonable with the comprehensive land use plan.
There's a motion to approve the statement that way.
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Sorry, I couldn't say it.
No, you just
Have to
you
ask.
control the control the meeting. You're good. Yeah.
Item number 9, which is a text amendment TX 26.01.01, indoor amusement.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Only 3 more hours to go, guys.
Promise you, my presentation
halftime.
is very short.
I said 9 o'clock. It's 5 off.
All right, so hello, Planning Board. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Katie King, and I'm the Senior Planning Technician for Stallings. Tonight, I've got a text amendment, TX 260101 for indoor amusement. The applicant is proposing an addition to Article 8 of the Table of Uses to permit the use of an escape room and other similar uses.
I'm sorry, what?
Escape room?
Escape room. and-
Escape room?
Yes, yeah.
Where is it? I'm going to go to it.
They're also proposing a corresponding definition with this new use in the Table of Uses in Article 3. So the name of this new use would be called amusement/entertainment indoor. This would be a listed use in the mixed-use 2 zoning district, and staff is also requesting to add it as a listed use in the C74 zoning district, which is the commercial corridor along US 74. This use would be entirely indoors, as it says in the definition, and it's mainly for entertainment purposes, like enjoyment, any type of fun businesses, basically. Possible businesses that this would allow would be escape rooms, indoor mini golf, like interactive game show centers, and other similar uses. And it lists things that are prohibited, like that aren't included in this use, which would be like movie theaters, nightclubs, bars. All of those are previously defined in our table of uses and would not be included as a listed use for this one. And staff does recommend approval of TX 260101 to expand the permitted commercial uses in a way that is consistent with the uses in both the mixed-use 2 zoning district and C74. It also supports the town's long-term economic development goals. And all right, that's all I have for that. Do y'all have any questions?
Where's this where's this located?
So this would be permitted in all mixed-use 2 zoning districts.
Okay.
And C74.
Okay.
And I've also got the applicant here if y'all have any questions for them.
My only question was this expanded definition wouldn't include gambling, right?
Correct. That is already defined in our ordinance and has special standards that go along with it.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want something like that included in the prohibited uses of this.
I think that would be helpful.
Yes, definitely.
Any other questions for me or the applicant?
Well, the applicant can tell us a little bit more about what he's planning.
Sure. Would you like to talk?
So, do I need the microphone? My name's Uriah Braden. We currently operate, we're in Indian Trail. We're called Masterpiece Escapes, and we're just moving. And so, do you have the address? We're moving like right across 74 from the hospital, those buildings that are right down there.
Mm-hmm.
One of those buildings is gonna give us twice as much space to create more games. And, like I said, do you have any questions about like specifically what an escape room is, or?
No, what have you been doing in Indian Trail?
We've been there for 10 years, operating an escape room, and,
Is that like a corporate outing type of thing?
no, small
or-
business, just me and my partner.
No, I
Oh.
mean, do you have like businesses? come
So
in and
primarily,
visit?
like, most of our business is families and people just out doing something. Corporate business is a leg of the business. For us, it's about 15-20% of people doing corporate outings. Hey, we want to take our team out for team building. If you guys want to all come play one together to get to, you know what I mean, that type of stuff. And then a significant part of our business is out of town people. That, it's hard to say this without sounding kind of egotistical, but like, we're one of the better places in the state, if not the country, actually. I mean, just this year, we've had people from, this year, like January, February, from Norway, from Finland, from England, from New York, from Philadelphia, Connecticut, Michigan. I try to keep track of all the outdoor people from Arizona, California, Florida. We get people regularly for the drive up from Atlanta, from the Tri area. Because like, we've won several awards, and actually another place has opened up in Charlotte that's really good, so we've sort of become this destination in Charlotte where people come here and they can hit 2 or 3 locations that are really highly rated. And so a good chunk of our business is actually significant out-of-town people, and we pull the whole Charlotte area as well. We routinely every week, we get people from Gastonia, Rock Hill, Lake Norman, that whole is in addition to just Charlotte proper. Most of our business, I mean, 30% or 40% is Union County, Matthews, Mint Hill, Indian Trail, Stallings, Weddington, Waxhaw, that whole area, but a significant chunk does come from out of town.
So the escape room is basically you're in a room and you have to figure out how to get out of it.
So the best way I describe it is the term escape room is bad and outdated almost, that we try to prefer to describe it as an interactive adventure. When the whole concept first started, it was lock you in an office room, give you some puzzles, you got to find the key to get out. Now it's much more themed, so think of it as like a story. And so one of ours, you're in an Old West saloon and you're trying to find a map to some long lost gold. And so you go in there, it looks like you're in an Old West saloon. And you have to finish the story, and the way you advance the story is finding clues and solving puzzles.
Okay.
And so it is at its core sort of a puzzle solving and adventure, but it's more just an interactive movie. You feel like you're interactive entertainment. That when it very first started, it was about time pressure and puzzles, and now it's much more about just the experience, about just like, hey, I get to go be somewhere else for an hour. One of our games, you're trying to save the city from Dr. Devastation, our evil genius. You know, I mean, it's kind of goofy and plays on the evil genius motifs, but yeah, it's just an interactive.
It's scavenger hunt strategy game.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Highly themed.
Okay.
Hopefully, very immersive.
So they come all the way from Europe to play the game in your room.
Well, I mean, like I said, that they're coming to Charlotte specifically because, like, it's just so happened that, like, this area has sort of got several really good games all together. There's one place in Charlotte, there's a place in Hickory, and then there's another really good one down in Greenville, South Carolina, and so people come in and make like a 2-day trip out of it.
Wow.
And we've managed to maintain that level of quality, and it's been really cool to see that people are like, no, we're from wherever. Like,
So you're moving out of Indian Trail because of space?
Two things. One, like some new people took over our building and they're basically doubling our rent, which made us start looking.
Okay.
And then once we started looking, we ended up finding a situation that's like, wow, this is good for everybody. We can
Get thrown out of Indian Trail.
we could stay there if we wanted to, but for the same rent they're wanting to charge us, we can rent a building with double the space. And so it's like, we never would have started looking, but it's one of those, oh wow, this is the best thing that ever happened to us, because now we're gonna be able to, for the same rent they're wanting to charge us, we can have twice as many games.
Okay.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, it's always one of those, like, the day that we found that out, we were like, and I was like, these oftentimes work out to be really good things, so it's like, we're excited about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And that's a good, like, he did good at explaining, what the business is and what he wants to do with it, but you do have to consider that this is applied to all mixed-use 2 and C-74
Right.
zoning district locations.
Okay.
You guys have any more questions?
Yeah. You supply refreshments or do they bring it in?
The refreshments isn't really part of it.
So you control what they bring in?
That people usually don't like.
Well, usually don't, but, you can't serve alcohol, so they can bring in alcohol.
They don't, I mean, like, we don't allow it pretty much, like.
Okay.
Some places, we don't currently, some places do serve beer and wine, but like, inebriation and destruction go hand in hand, so they people that come in drunk break our stuff,
Well, you can't serve alcohol anyway here.
which is why we don't have late bookings because of that.
Okay.
Okay.
But we can control that as part of the zoning, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an hour-long experience, so there's usually not like,
Okay.
refreshment isn't part of it,
Okay, need the motion.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the text amendment TX 260101 indoor amusement change as stated. Approval of the request as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
We can do the statements of consistency.
And that planning board recommends that the proposed amendment is consistent and reasonable with the comprehensive land use plan adopted on November 17, 2017.
Anyone want a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'm going to make the motion.
Motion.
All right, I think I have a second. Second?
Second.
All right. Adjourn.
First meeting was a marathon.
Yes.
I told my wife when I looked at the
Wow.
agenda, I told her 9 o'clock. I was 9 minutes off. That
Wow.
was it.